I crashed out of Fitzroy 400 that year. I fell on my face on a cow trail. I had a baby head. I was crossing the trail. It's like a double track thing. And I hit a rock and flipped over and I landed on my face. And my teeth went through my chin. I had blood like squirting out my chin.
Welcome to the Endurance Studio podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Turner. I'm an avid ultra-endurance cyclist, bikepacker, and runner, and I'm on a journey to learn and share everything I can about how people can push beyond their limits. This podcast will explore all aspects of endurance through conversations with people I find unique and interesting. There's always an amazing story of accomplishment and failure, and always something to learn. I run this podcast from an off-grid mobile studio I've created so I can travel to the guests and have authentic, in-person conversations, because I believe in the importance and power of face-to-face conversations. This costs money to run, and you can support this podcast by becoming a sustaining member, liking, subscribing, commenting, and most importantly, sharing with your friends and family. If you're interested in advertising on the podcast, please contact me at theendurancestudio@gmail.com. Thank you for watching and listening. Before we jump into the podcast, I want to mention a few companies that make products that I just think are incredible and I can't stop talking about. The first one is Squirrel's Nut Butter. I did a podcast with Chris Thornley, the co-founder. It was incredible to learn more about the company and his background. So they make all kinds of different lubes for chafing and when running and bikepacking. So go check them out, squirrelsnutbutter.com. I do have a promo code. It's TimberFriends, TimberFriends, TimberFriends for 10% off, and squirrelsnutbutter.com. And the other company is also here in Flagstaff. It's Catula. They make gaiters and running traction. And I've recently discovered how incredible the running traction is, and I've been using the gaiters for a really long time. And they're just really great people, amazing company, and they're always making better and better products. So go check them out, catula.com. And the last one is Dispersed Bikepacking Gear. This is Katie and Andrew Stremke. They make their own bags, bikepacking bags, and they just make incredible stuff. They're both super accomplished bikepackers. And Andrew has completed the Triple Crown. That's the Colorado Trail Race, Arizona Trail Race, and Tour Divide, all in 1 year, all on a single speed. So I'm going to buy my bags from a person who has gone through the bikepacking gauntlet if I'm going to buy bikepacking bags. So go check them out, dispersed.bike. Wanted to take a minute to remind you of the few different ways you can support this podcast. You can, of course, like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Tell as many people as you can about it, and get those listener numbers up. You can also support it financially. It does paying out of pocket for this. It costs money to run, traveling around, buying the production equipment. I have dreams of scaling up my production equipment and doing multi-camera. I'm just on the single camera now, because that's all I can afford to put into this podcast. But if you want to support and help me grow this operation, you can do so in a couple different ways. The first way is on YouTube. You can become a member. You can become a recurring member, and you would get all kinds of perks out of that. You can also give one-time donations through their super stickers function. And you can also now on Spotify, through their listener support feature. I'll put the links in the description in the podcast notes. You can give one-time or recurring donations there for financial support. So thank you very much. I appreciate those of you who have already supported and believe in this thing, and I want to keep this thing rolling down the tracks. So support me if you can. Today's guest is a devoted bikepacker, tattoo artist, and race director for the Stagecoach 400 bikepacking race. She's become a staple of the bikepacking community and a caring and kind human being. I was fortunate enough to grab her for a conversation while she was in town shortly after the 2024 Pinions and Pines bikepacking race. I really enjoyed our conversation and hope you do as well. I'd like to welcome to the podcast my friend, Meg Knobel.
Yeah, and I've never been in person.
Yeah, I think it's so important to, like, that was the whole concept with this, was people kept telling me you should, they're like years ago when I started the Season Bikepacker, they were like, you should start a podcast. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. And I was totally late to the game on it, you know? But I don't really care.
Who cares? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many that are just bad. Put another good one in there. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I like the thing with this was there was like two there were two like fundamental things that I learned during COVID about podcasting. One was how important in person is.
Yeah.
And how everybody just took like the easy out with Zoom. And it's great because you can get a lot of people you can't get access to normally with Zoom, but there's just like fundamental problems with it. The delay is one of them.
Yeah.
You know, like you're cutting each other off.
Yeah.
And some people can overcome that and they're better at it. But I work at the university and it's almost all Zoom now. Like all of our meetings are Zoom.
Yeah.
And it's just different. I like it because I'm a remote worker. So I'm privileged to be able to do that. But at the same time, the quality of the conversations are different.
It's different. Yeah.
It's just different.
Yeah. You can't like really bounce ideas off of each other quickly and interject or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a pacing to in-person, right?
I have a very in-person job. I have a very non-technical job.
Really?
Well,
what is it?
I don't know. I'm a tattoo artist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I was going to ask about that.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No, I've seen your stuff online.
Oh, yeah, because I have like a personal account. And I don't post like any work stuff on it. I have them very separate. I have like, I keep like really separate, I guess. Not like really a private person, but I kind of keep those two worlds separate.
Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. You know,
I don't even want a personal
Some people
Instagram.
are weird. I don't want like anybody that I, casually tattoo, like clients who I don't really know. Like I don't want them to know that there's a tracker that I'm on doing pinions and pines. You know what I mean? Like I don't talk about any of that stuff. And I honestly think I kind of like how people do the name changes. And I think I'm going to start putting a different name because I've had some bad things happen to me in the past. I had a really serious stalker, like a Netflix special type stalker.
Really?
Yeah. And it was somebody I didn't know. He was a friend of my ex. And long story short, hitchhiked his way to San Diego and showed up at my tattoo shop. It was about a 1.5 year long process of it. And it's made me like very, like private about my location at any given time. But then I'm like, what am I doing? I'm on track leaders 4 times a year, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think I'm going to start using a fake name.
Yeah.
Because who cares? Like, I don't have anything to prove. People don't know who I am. I definitely don't care.
Yeah.
You know, like all I would want is for you guys to know that it was me. That was it.
Right.
You know?
And like Oprah Winfrey.
So funny.
Like
I was looking through. I'm like, okay, who do I know on the start list? I'm going through and I see Oprah Winfrey and I'm like, who is this? And I saw Nucla and I was like, I texted Tim. I was like, Tim. And he was like,
yeah.
It was so funny.
Yeah. I saw the email from the registration. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay.
It was so funny. He said he made that image of her holding the soap.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably made.
Yeah. It was so funny.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, you know, and we've been rolling, by the way, so we're off and running.
Yeah, I figured.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the privacy thing is something I've been thinking about a lot. I think about that personally a lot with like social media and everything that's come out over the last, 6 or 7 years. Yeah. But with like track leaders specifically, you know how you're supposed to like test your spot?
I don't do it until I get to the race.
Yeah. I'll do it. Because
I know mine works.
But I'll take like a walk through the neighborhood and test it. Because it's like you're broadcasting your home to anybody on the internet.
Anybody.
Yeah. And if you become like a higher profile racer, like how do they deal with this sort of thing?
I don't know. I mean, I learned that the first time. I think the first time I did Stagecoach is when I got my InReach, and I was like, I turned it on and I was like, oh my God, it's at my house. And then you can't make it go away.
Right.
You know, so then the next weekend I went on a ride and I went out and I tracked it out on my ride so that it moved my dot to like the mountains. But my dot's been in Idlewild up until the day. I don't know why, because I think that's the last time I turned off my InReach was Stagecoach. So I just left it in Idlewild, you know, until I came here because I don't want people to see where I live.
Right.
It's like you have it on Strava, you have it private, you know, like near your house. I don't know if you do, but on Strava you can have like a privacy zone.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm like,
I'm very cautious about Strava too.
Same. Yeah. And I was, because there are people I don't want to show up at my house who might actually look for me. You know? So I'm like, no.
Yeah. With Strava, I actually set a personal rule for myself. I think it was about a year ago. I only friend people on Strava that I've met in person.
Same.
Yeah.
Yep. I put that rule, but the first year I had it, there were a few randoms that kind of came on, and I was like, oh, maybe I know them. And then I felt, oh, I feel bad if I turn somebody away who maybe I actually have met them. And now I'm like, no, if I don't know you, if I don't know your name and I'm like, oh, I've been in person with you before, it's like a no. I just leave them I just leave them on there.
Yeah.
I don't even decline them. I just leave them on there.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah. It's similar to how you would early on have to deal with social media. Like I remember Facebook. Stuff. Early on. It was like
early Facebook. You'd get so many randoms because that was when like chat rooms were a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd chat with randoms because you're like, the internet's cool. I'm talking to somebody in wherever, some place that I have no business talking to somebody because I'm 14 or whatever. Like, what? Why was that okay?
It was so exciting though. Chat rooms. They were like new and revolutionary and just exciting. You were like, but now in hindsight, it's like creepy.
It's so creepy. I have memories of talking to people who I'm like, why? That was probably some creepy fucking 60-year-old dude.
Yeah.
And some, who knows,
Yeah.
In Missouri talking to me.
So have you heard of Follow My Challenge?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
They're a alternative tracking provider.
Yes. They send me emails because they want me to use them.
Yeah. So their system works in a way that it doesn't ping until the start of the race.
That's cool.
So they've solved the safety problem there.
Mm-hmm.
The only downside to that is you can't really. We're kind of programmed in this traditional method of doing it through track leaders. So like people that constantly do the bike races, that's like part of the routine is like checking the tracker and making sure it's all established and everything.
Yeah.
So when I went to Follow My Challenge, because Dana uses it for Verde Valley Randonnée,
okay.
And I'm not exactly sure why the story there, but competition's always a little healthy in my opinion, right?
Uh-huh. Why not?
If you have a monopoly, then I like Scott and
Scott's
I like
monopoly.
track. I mean, he did have a corner on the market for
totally.
a long time, right? And then all these other groups started popping up, and I think that's healthy in the world, especially as it's grown. There's plenty to go around for everybody, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And
they're all different. Like they all have different like positives and negatives,
Yeah. And so one of the negatives was I couldn't like figure out how to ping my tracker and get it. It was just different. It was a different system, and so I had to like. They have a way to do it, but
and some of those other ones I've heard just through other organizers, you have to collect all of them at the end and mail them back yourself.
Yeah,
which to me is 100% not worth it. And I like how Scott he sends each person, the instructions and how to mail it back, and that's it. And then they have to deal with it. It's funny when actually at the end of Stagecoach when we finished, it was. Like rainy, cold. We finished in snow slush.
This last year?
Yeah, this spring. And when my friend Kevin Emery, he was the Fitzjoy 400 organizer. He just passed it off to our friend Jonathan. But he and I finished together. And when we got to the finish, I just have like a cooler set out, just a cardboard cooler with some treats, like some patches and whatever. People throw beer in there and stuff. And but I get there and there's a tracker sitting on top of it. And I was like, motherfucker. And I start thinking, I'm like who, out of the few people that rented left their tracker here for me to deal with, I was so irritable about it. I was like swearing and Kevin's like, and then I realized it was my friend Robin, and she was just like, it was too cold. I didn't want to wait for it to ping. You guys were behind me, so I just left it for you guys. And I was like, oh my God, Robin. She was like, how'd you not know it was me? We were staying in the same place. Yeah. So I just grabbed it and took it with me. But I was just, because that's one thing I really like about track leaders is that I don't have to collect the trackers from all these people from all over the country and the world, and who are going different places at different times after, it's nice that they just have to deal with it. Yeah.
How long have you been organizing Stagecoach?
I think so. If my memory is right, I think it was late in 2019 that Brendan reached out and asked me.
Okay.
And then so 2020 was kind of like the year I felt like a what do they call it when people have what do they call it at real jobs? Like when you have there's a mentorship, when people, like when you're in college and you go to a business and you work for free.
Oh, like an internship?
I felt like an internship.
Yeah, like an intern. And so, Okay.
And
I kind of felt a lot like that with Dana.
Totally. It was the same. There was like a dual year where I feel like I did a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. Like I did all of the calling all the businesses, checking all the hours, fixing all the queues, coordinating the queues to the new GPX, doing the new GPX, like kind of a lot of that. And I didn't really know how to do a lot of it. So it was really hard. Yeah. And Brendan was definitely there to support me, but also really stepping back. So it was I feel like I got thrown in, which is good because I learned really well that way. But then 2020 was just wild because we did Stagecoach the weekend like of the shutdown, like when the shutdown was decided for 2020 for COVID.
Okay. And it was
So,
like super draconian in California.
It was,
yeah.
and it was a crazy monsoon rainstorm.
Mhm.
And so we had to change the route last minute. But it was so last minute, and I didn't really have the skills at the time to like create a new route for everybody. And only maybe 25, 30 people showed up because it was pretty bad. And so we basically were like, well, when you get to Lake Hodges, like Google Map it to Del Mar, you know, because we just didn't know. And they were like the same thing when you get to Sweetwater Single Track, Google Map it to this next section, because we were like, you got to figure it out on your own, you know. And, and everybody there was pretty on it. You know, there was one person who was like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, you have to figure this out. You know, you have to have the skills to Google Map to this section. It's fine. I gave them pins. I was like, choose your route. There'll be like 3 bike routes it'll offer. Just pick one. I don't care, because we can't do the single track because it's going to be covered in mud. And but it was too last minute to figure it out. So I felt really, it was a really chaotic year. And then in the middle of it, my mom texted me, and I was like pre-hypothermic laying on the porch of Sunshine Market at 1 a.m. and in the rain. And she's like, do you guys have groceries? And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, like all the grocery stores are basically being raided for everything. And there's, you know, and everything's closing down. And we're like, what? We're just trying to be alive right now. you know? Like, I'm not thinking about groceries. I don't have groceries. I've been out of town for a few days. And we had a neighbor actually that bought us some groceries, which was really nice. And yeah, we finished, and everything was just, we were in Idlewild and people were just raiding the grocery store. We were like, what's going on?
Wild.
Yeah. And then it shut down like the next day. So yeah, that was a long-winded answer, but 2020 was the first year. And then 2021 was the first year where Brendan was very hands-off.
Okay.
And like, so I would say 2020 was, I guess, yeah, maybe 2021 would be technically the first like fully just me. Yeah, he's always been there to support. He's great. But and then 2021 was crazy because that was the year that everybody who never ridden a bike before decided to become a cyclist.
Yep.
And then was like, oh, the first event of the year. And we had just happened to choose a date that was when things opened up. I think a few weeks before, I just picked a random date. I was like, I hope stuff is open. And if it's not, we'll just push it back or we won't do it. And everything opened up. All the forest land opened up because that was all shut down. I don't know if it was California only or nationwide, but yeah, like all the forest land opened up a few weeks before. And I was like, oh man, we might actually do Stagecoach. And then like all the restrictions lifted, I think just a few weeks before the date I picked. So we didn't skip. We did 2020 and 2021.
Okay.
Just by chance.
Did you change anything when you took it over? Did you come up with your own, like, was there methods in like registration that you changed, or did you pick up a lot of the legacy processes?
I picked up a lot of legacy processes. The first year, especially since it had been around for a long time, like I think almost a decade already at that point. And people love Brendan, and Brendan like really created something pretty awesome. So at first I really tried to just kind of replicate his footsteps, you know. I mean, Brendan and I are kind of similar, but I'm obviously just a different person. So, but I tried to follow his patterns of it. And but the biggest change that kind of forced me to make some different like alterations were that there was so many people that wanted to do it, you know, like just because of I think the COVID rush, you know, people had just been pent up. There had been no events for like a year, you know, or very few, and or they were much smaller, and so suddenly, you know, we put registration up. I also had to learn how to use Eventbrite and stuff, and I'm good at tech stuff, but I don't use it all the time. So learning a new platform is tricky, and so I didn't have a cap on it.
Yeah. And
within a few hours, I was at work and I checked the site, and it was just like there were like 100 people on there, and I texted Brendan. And I was like, "Oh my god, what do I do? There's 97 people." And he was like, "That's bad." He's like, cap it, like shut it down. I was like, "Oh my god." So I'm at work trying to do it on my phone. Yeah. I'm like trying to figure out how to like do this on my phone from work in between tattoos. And yeah, and then began the emails of the people who were like, "But I wanted to do this all year," you know, all the whining. And I know that he got whining too, but I think it was just there were just so many people, you know, with that rush of new riders.
Well, I think all these people too that surged into it, because part of it was the explosion in in cycling, like
Yeah.
like all the outdoor industry exploded, right? Because that was the only thing to do. People that were spending their money,
which is great,
going on cruises or going to theaters or whatever,
Yeah.
we're now spending it on campers and bikes and pop-up tents and this kind of thing, right? We saw tons of that here.
Yeah.
But then a subsection of those people that got bikes decided, hey, we're going to take it to the next level and try this bikepacking thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think those were the kind of people that are like your typical bikepacking group of people. They're more like,
I was worried about people who were out there.
Weekend warrior types.
There were some scary people asking really scary questions.
Right. And you can tell by the questions, right?
Yeah.
And the figure it outiveness, if that's even a word.
Yeah.
Like of these people, because there's kind of like this, I don't know, I do running races and do self-supported bikepacking, and they're very different, you know. And there's some hardcore people that do running races, like ultra running races, but there's also some people where you're just like, you can't figure that out, and you're out here going through this. That makes me nervous about bikepacking, right? Because that's going to make it a liability for me as a race director, that you're gonna, I don't know, do something stupid and then maybe blame it on me, and then who knows, maybe sue me or
have
whatever.
A family member blame it on you.
Really?
I mean, it's possible. There's so many different angles, you know what I mean? Or a partner or something. It's like, I had people sign a waiver this year, which is something that was different from Brendan. And that was, you know, I think there are different ways of keeping things like under the radar and seeming very unofficial, you know? Yeah. And he had never done it because he's like, no, it's just not. If you don't have anything official, it's just not official. Like, keep it as hands off as possible. But then some people have gotten pretty hurt over the last years. Yeah. And it definitely made me nervous. And I remember, you know, Tim Tate had a waiver. That was the first waiver I signed for a bikepacking thing, was for Utah Mixed Epic. Okay. And I was signing it and I was like, I should do this. You know, I should do this. And then you sign one to do the LA tourist races, and Mike has a waiver. And I'm like, yeah, this is smart. And so I started, you know, kind of taking pieces of different waivers and putting it together. And my friend who's a lawyer helped me look. He looked over it and he's like, it looks like these things are all lawyered already. Like, things are written already by lawyers, like whatever I had picked and chosen from other stuff. And and he's like, looks fine.
Interesting. Okay, cool. And he seemed like it would hold up in court.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so.
Yeah, we won't know till we get there.
Yeah, I hope.
You know, but I feel like, I don't know, if it's definitely continuing to rise a little bit. There's been a pullback since COVID, since like the COVID bubble.
Yeah, and all that being said, like all the stuff in 2021 that was kind of like a little bit of a shit show, which was a lot of the regulars being there and being awesome, you know, and new people coming in who are awesome, who are totally like cut out for it or going to be cut out for it after their first, you know, cut their teeth on their first race and stuff. Right. You know, who are great community members, but I think this 2024 Stagecoach, it was so much easier on my end. Mm-hmm. And it was a bad weather year. You know, I had to make new routes. That stuff's become easier for me just because now I'm more familiar with all of this stuff in that region, so I can pick different roads more easily. And now I'm also just better at making it like on Ride with GPS and stuff. And but everybody who signed up, you know, I looked at the list of everybody, and this is going to sound like a jab, but I hope that nobody from back home feels this way. There were a lot of people from San Diego and Los Angeles who were signed up, and our weather was projected to be like pouring rain and very cold. And then there was going to be snow in Idyllwild and the Cuyamaca Mountains. And none of us in Southern California ride in that ever. Most of us don't have gear for that, you know? And like, I've been pre-hypothermic on Stagecoach, and because I was in sleet and snow and I was not prepared, you know? And it was like day 3 of being wet. And hypothermia is horrible. And so, I definitely, I tried to send out some scary words in some of the emails to just be like, hey, you know, this is real. Like, don't show up in subpar gear. You know, you really have to have proper stuff for this. It's not something you can really just tough out, you know, and don't show up unprepared. And if you aren't prepared, you just shouldn't really ride it. And I think like 50 or 60% of the Southern Californians that were signed up didn't come. And I think that's I think that's part of why they're not tough, or it's not that they're not tough people, but I think that they had awareness. The people who weren't ready to ride in that kind of weather didn't ride. And I think that's really good. Yeah. Because I think we had one of the highest finisher rates this year, and we had 48 hours of rain and snow, you know? Dang. I mean, I had my rain gear on for 48. I had 2 pairs of waterproof gloves, waterproof socks. I learned from all you guys with the waterproof socks. I never even heard of waterproof socks before Pinions and Pines like last year.
The best.
Or
right?
no, it was when you and Dana did Stagecoach and you guys had them, and I was like, and Dana said something about it, and I was like, waterproof socks.
2 pairs of waterproof socks.
Yeah,
and you can rotate them.
Yep, and so
cheapo Amazon ones.
That's what I did.
I did
that's
like
what I got.
$15 ones.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure. You know, I was like, do I really spend money on this? I live in San Diego.
Yeah,
and they were awesome.
That
it
course
was so good.
was so wet. It's just always so wet.
You know, we still have. What's crazy is that we used to have exactly like 0 water crossings in Stagecoach, and now there's like 20.
Really?
And the year you guys did it, they're probably like, I don't know, 60, because it was just because the snow melt was coming down, so there was just water everywhere. There's never really water on the bottom of Oriflamme and stuff like that. I mean, one time I crossed a tiny bit, and it was novel because I didn't see it for 3 more years.
Really?
You know? And,
see, I thought this was normal that year that we had.
No, like Stagecoach is usually super dry. I tell people don't even bring a filter. Like you bring tablets if you feel like it, but you're not going to get running water anywhere.
Wow.
Yeah, and now there's so many water crossings. It's cool. It's different now. You know, it's better. I think it's healthier.
But, I mean, so the water coming from Arizona, you know, it's an element I was not used to and ready for. I mean, I was kind of ready for that, but like, I don't know, like water and being wet and it's just semi-cold the whole time. It's a whole different thing.
Yeah. I mean, the first Pinions and Pines I did, I was like, oh, there's no water. It's kind of like Stagecoach.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's funny because you guys from the last 2 years probably think Stagecoach is like the rainiest, wettest thing ever. And it's just not.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to Tom Schwimberger about his run this year at it. And he
beat all the weather.
Frame apparently.
Oh, he did. He
like carved out the inside of his carbon frame.
He did because the wash sand in Coyote Canyon. So like after the Willows, when you came out of the Willows, immediately after you came out of the Willows, I knew something was bad because Robin, my friend Robin, got a room in Borrego Springs at some motel, and they were like, don't use the shower, it's broken, and like gave her a discount or something. Or like, she's like, I got a bed, you want a bed? I'm like, awesome. So I like rolled in like at 1 a.m, you know, and crashed there.
The Borrego Springs like so super gnarly economy motel. I can just imagine that.
It was pretty brutal. I actually didn't fully get the memo, and I actually like stood on the edge of the shower and washed with my legs, and then like the water all started coming up, and I was like, what's happening? And she's like, did you use the shower? I'm like, maybe.
Oh, that's so funny.
I was like, I was so dirty, but it was fine. The guy in the morning was like, did you use the shower? And she's like, nope. Nope, nobody used the shower. But yeah, I got a text from my friend Emily Elliott, and she was ahead of us, and she was in Coyote Canyon, and she must have texted from Anza on the other side, and she just said death mud in Coyote Canyon, death mud near the Willows. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's weird and bad sounding. And it had the rain had kind of just stopped. I actually got rained on the whole way through Fish Creek, which is crazy. I almost coasted through Fish Creek because it's mildly downhill after Diablo Drop. Yeah. It was something about just the slight dampness of the sand. You could kind of cut through the washboard a little bit. I mean, I soft pedaled it. Nice. I blasted through. I've never ridden through it that fast. It was awesome. But yeah, so Coyote Canyon, that's where Tom got. And then Tom texted the same thing. And he was like, hey, just a heads up, there's death mud, there's peanut butter after the Willows. And I'm like, this is so bizarre. And I told Tom, I was like, oh, if it got you, then it'll be dry and it'll be hard packed by the time I get there, you know, because I'm significantly slower than Tom. And no, it was still peanut butter mud. Really? And yeah, and it was brutal. Emily and Kimmy got in it overnight and actually had kind of a bad time. They were at the Willows just like digging their drivetrains out. And so I went through it the next day, and as soon as I got into it, like, you know, I have a little mud guard on my front, and I mean, when you have those and there's like peanut butter mud, you're screwed because it just impacts all of it and you can't get out. So the people I was riding with who didn't have that kind of pedaled through. It was Sammy and Shelly. No, Sammy was having some trouble because she had a tight clearance, but they got through, and I was just walking, kind of dragging my bike, and then Kevin Emery showed up, and he had the same thing with the mud guard, and we're both like, it was so brutal. The only reason I didn't burn a hole through my frame is because Angel, my shop partner, my friend Angel, he ride wrapped it for me. Okay. And it was one of those things where he really wanted to ride wrap it before I rode the bike when I got it, and I was like, you know, I'm not that like meticulous about keeping my things nice, and he really is. I'm so thankful that he ride wrapped that bike for me.
And that saved it, huh?
Saved my frame.
Really?
100%. Yeah.
Dang, that's a pro tip. It didn't go through the ride wrap.
No, it burned a little into the ride wrap, but the ride wrap is, I guess, whatever the material of it is, just like a little tougher, than just carbon and
Yeah.
paint, so
I mean, sandpaper. It's basically sandpaper, right?
Yeah.
You think about the
Yeah.
sand it's just like your fine grit or heavy grit sandpaper.
Yeah. And like you can put like just pieces of ride wrap on that protect where your bikepacking bags go on there, or you can buy like a kit that fits your bike. And that's what I did. I got a Santa Cruz blur, and I just bought the kit for the blur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have my bike wrapped for sure. It's the move.
It is the move.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, okay, so let's go back to 2023.
That's when you guys rode?
Right, because you went through, so you took over in 20.
Yep.
That was your first one.
Yep.
21 was a little better. 23 was complete chaos.
21 was the crazy one.
21 was, that was the chaos.
That was the chaos one, but the weather was awesome.
Right.
And then 2022, the weather was awesome also.
But I thought you said 23... registration wise was pretty intense.
It was like 21 was the worst, and then 22 was, they got progressively better.
Okay, I see. It started to kind of taper off after that.
I think it's people getting, not as many people, rapidly getting into the industry.
What's your cap on it?
It's funny because I don't have an exact cap. I know a lot of people sit on really exact numbers like 75, or 65 or whatever. Because I found that it fluctuates so much towards the end. I generally allow it to kind of waver in the 75 range, and then I feel like about 60 people show up.
Yeah. So 70, we looked into this last year because it was, I think that was last year. Yeah, last year was 130 or 140, maybe 160 people registered. Mm-hmm. So we like talked to a Forest Service person, and it's a permitting thing at 75. It's like some sort of constitutional right or something about gathering, about being able to gather. Yeah. And so under 75. 75 is the number where you're supposed to get insured and permitted. Yep. Unless there's guns involved. If you have guns, you have to register no matter what, because they want to know what you're doing.
Right.
Out wherever congregating with weapons. Right. That's the only exception to it. There's probably a couple more, but not that we were really worried about. So that's just Forest Service. Yeah. BLM's a different beast, and then you have state and land management groups, and those are different, and parks and stuff.
The numbers are a lot smaller.
Right.
They're much smaller. They're numbers we won't speak of.
Okay.
They're different.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
They're a lot smaller.
And so it's this interesting game of like, I don't know. I was talking to Tim a little bit about this yesterday with the Grand Loop.
He's had some trouble with the Grand Loop, right? Yeah.
Because I was like, look at the, Tim's always kind of leading the way. I think, John, a little bit too, Schilling is sort of pioneering on some of this stuff, like the way he does stuff is new and fresh, and I steal a lot of ideas from him. And Tim seems to be doing that same sort of thing too with the Grand Loop, and he's running it. He said he was getting it permitted and insured, but then he ran into some bureaucracy. Yeah, and he's ending up having to eat some of the insurance costs. Yeah, but that's just, I mean, I work in government. I work for a university, and like, you just have, it's like the ultimate endurance sport. Way more than what we're doing here for these sort of rides. Like, to get through that stuff, you just have to keep going back and back and back, and you have to be the most patient human being in the world. And it takes
to wade through the bureaucracy of it.
Yeah, it takes years to get things done, just to get to the right people, and then that person leaves, and
you have to have a relationship with somebody.
Yeah, and then when they leave or they get promoted, and then you like start over. So I think it's possible. And Dane and I thought, like, do we want to spend the time that it's going to take to make this something that we could charge for? Yeah. What kind of value are we going to get out of this? Because we had the demand we thought we had the demand at 160 people. Yeah. 65 only started that year. Yeah. It always just whittles down to the same amount of people.
I mean, I think I had 60 people on the wait list, and I think I went through, and there are a few people I probably didn't get to at the end of the wait list. Like I don't remember how, I don't remember. I got to a lot of the people on the wait list. At some point I stopped asking because it just gets closer and closer, because it takes time to reach out to somebody and then wait for them to reply, and I just give them, I think I was like, within 48 hours, if you don't reply, I'm asking the next person. But yeah, yeah, it just, as you get closer to the event, people can't make it for understandable reasons. I mean, like, hey, you want to come next week? Like, no, can't do that, you know, but a couple people could. But yeah, it's yeah, the demand thing's tricky. I've actually thought the same thing. I'm like, you know what, like, yeah, what's the value in it? Like for us, I don't think Stagecoach could exist if we had to do the permit thing.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say.
Too many types of land that we cross. Right. It would be impossible. So, and that's, you know, that's why I try to tell the riders, because, you know, Brendan always said, and that's also why I haven't changed a lot from what Brendan did, because he kind of had it dialed into this, you know, the way that makes it work. That's kind of what it is. You know, I would never talk to a Forest Service person. You know, I'm like, I think I even like followed one of the state parks on Instagram, and Brendan was like, and I was like, oh. You know, I was like, okay, I need to like be a little careful. You know, and just because you just don't want to bring light to it. Everybody knows it's around, but it's just better that there's some mystery and that, you know, not everything is so public.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think it's really possible because it just takes work.
Yeah.
Cocodona.
Yeah, for you guys, because it's mostly Forest Service for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless it's Forest Service and state land.
Right.
Cocodona is a 250-mile running race that my wife Jessica just did. And it's an incredible feat of permitting and organization.
I bet. God, yeah.
So it actually gives me a little bit of hope that it's possible.
Yeah.
But it's somebody's full-time job. There's a guy that runs it that he spends the entire year on it.
Yeah.
You know, and they charge $1,800.
Damn. I didn't know
That's
that.
the entry. I think it's 1,600 or 1,800. It's up there. It's over 1,500.
Yeah.
You know, and you're talking 400 people.
Yeah.
So it's like $1 million event.
Yeah.
Like, and they live stream it, and they've made it a spectator sport.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting because it's like the most boring thing ever to watch is people running 250 miles or like power hiking, really.
Limping.
So, limping, like, except for like the top 10 people.
Yeah.
Like the elites are like, oh my God, how did you do that in under 60? I think the guy did it in 52 hours or something, the first place finisher. Wow. And he overtook the second place finisher in the last 6 miles of the race.
Oh my gosh.
The first place guy was from Flagstaff. He was in first for 200 miles. Wow. And then the second place guy overtook him at the end. It was cool. So like, I didn't know ultra running could be this exciting, but it was really exciting. But like, they do it somehow, and every year they deal with something. Yeah. They deal with like, they cross like 3 rivers, and 2 years ago the flooding was so horrible that we can't send people across that river. Like people are going to get washed away, and it's going to become a real issue. Yeah. They had to deal with like a Mexican spotted owl group this year that was
my friend Holly was telling me about that last night.
Oh really?
She ran the
125. So she got shuttled. Yeah, because that was part of the deal was the 250s could run through it because there was a less amount of people. Oh, yeah. But the 125s had to actually get picked up by a van in the middle of the race and shuttle across the way and get dropped back off through this one section.
There's so many logistical things that go into all of these, you know, regardless of how official or not they are, you know, it's like there's so many behind the scenes things. It reminds me of, I actually saw one of my tattoo artist friends recently posted it's an image of you know, like the life of an artist, and it's like a triangle, and it's like the little cap, and it's like the tiny tip of the triangle is the amount of work that you see, you know, as a client or the public and the outside person. And like this entire rest of it is all of the rest of the work that we're doing all of the time. Yeah. And we're never not working. You know, it looks like people are like, oh, you have such a great job, you know, draw pictures and, oh, you're only at the shop 4 days a week. That's such an easy schedule. And I'm like, I work a lot, you know, even though my job isn't, you know, incredibly important to like saving the world or something, it's still like quite a bit of like time and love and effort put into it. And I feel like it's really similar with organizing anything, because you're doing it for other people. Yeah. Like you're not really doing it for yourself. It's fun to do it and you like it and you get something out of it, but it's like you're really what you're doing is like for other people to have a good time. Yeah. You know? Yeah,
it's very satisfying.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And that you can contribute in that way. Yeah. You know? Like I was kind of lost there for a while. I was kind of topped out in my work, and I didn't really know where, like I'm almost 40 now, and I'm kind of like, what, no kids, you know? And I'm just kind of like, what are we doing here now? Yeah. Like what's next, you know? Like, and I was exploring some things through work, like going through different groups and trying to contribute in that way. And then that was all at the same time as Dana asked me to be part of Pinions.
Yeah.
And this just like overtook everything.
When he asked you, were you just like, yes?
Oh,
or no? Because I was when Brennan asked me. When Brennan asked me, I was like, he called, and I like, my partner Peter, I was like, Brennan's calling me, and Peter is like on some level of spectrum of magic, I don't know.
Yeah.
And many things. And he goes, he's gonna ask you to take over Stagecoach. And I was like, what? I look at him, I'm like, what? And he's like, that's why he's calling you. And there was like not a lead up to it. But I just saw Brendan calling me, and Peter was like, that's what's about to happen. And I was like, hey, Brendan, what's up? So it was weird because I knew what he was going to say, even though I didn't know. And he was like, hey, so, I just want to talk to you and whatever.
Yeah.
And I was so excited. I think part of it was because it wasn't a surprise because Peter said it beforehand. So weird, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was, I was like definitely going through a couple of ups and downs in bikepacking.
Yeah.
Like a year prior to that.
Uh-huh.
Wasn't quite sure. I think that was, I'm trying to remember all the timing here, but I think because I had scratched Pinions twice. I've done every one of them from 2019. So it was kind of like this developmental course for me, like as I was learning how to become a bikepacker and like.
Yeah. Well, I met you at the taco shop and you were like, I've been doing Tailwind and it's helped so much, and I'm sleeping more and riding harder.
Right.
And it seemed like that was 2022.
Yes.
And it seemed like there were things just clicking.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That was the year. Yeah, that was the year that things started to come together. But prior to that, it was like this up and down, like, like, is this for me? Can I get past these saddle sores at 100 miles? How do I do the sleep? Like, there was just all these things up in the air. I hadn't really found the groove. But that year, I kind of found the groove. That was the beginning of finding the groove. Yeah, that was at Filiberto's in Camp Birdie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You were a complete disaster.
I was a mess. That was the first time. Well, it wasn't the first time I'd ridden overnight, but it was the first time I had gone into a race alone with a plan to do that. And and I came down Mingus in the middle of the night. Yeah, it was by myself. And I met Perry. It's the first time I met Perry Jewett. And we rode the bottom half of Mingus together, which is the fun part. Mm-hmm. And he had slept a little bit, so he was fresher. And so I just got on his wheel and we just fucking crushed down the thing. It was so much fun. We got to the bottom and it felt like we were like, it was awesome. And then we got to the taco shop and I was like, I just fell apart. And I was holding my burrito and I'm like, I don't know what to do with you. And you came in and you're like eating and you're like, I slept for 8 hours or something. And I was like, who's that? How does he do that? Yeah. You're like Tailwind and sleep. I was like, okay.
That was the first like meal I had too. Yeah. Was because I had gotten a stomach problem before that. So I was I couldn't hold food in basically. And I was just having the Tailwind and I was like, I hope this works.
It works.
Yeah. I mean, it
works to an extent. I mean, you need to put some hard food in there.
And and I keep like on Pinions this year, I packed like 250 to 300 calories per hour's worth of food. Mm-hmm. Like I've been trying to do this, like I've heard, and I can't seem to eat that much while I'm riding. Yeah. I can sit down and eat just fine. Yeah. But the liquid, I end up just like buying sodas and getting Tailwind and just like drinking all my calories.
I do the same thing. I buy sodas, drink Tailwind, and I bring some food, but it's hard. It's like I know I'll be able to eat food the second or third hour of the ride. The first one I can't. It's too much adrenaline. It's always a climb. Yeah. So I bring liquid to start, but then after that, I won't be able to eat solid food until like 4 or 5 p.m. for sure. Yeah. Because I'll just get weird or nauseous or it's too much. First day's tricky, and then second day there's usually nausea. Right. I feel like I don't know.
And then you pile heat sometimes, like particularly for me on Pinions this year, the climb up out of Fossil Creek, in like down into Fossil Creek, up out. This is pre-Camp Birdie. Mm-hmm. Was extremely hot and roasting, and it was starting to like work.
I was nervous about that. Yeah, I mean, I didn't get that far. That was the thing I was the most nervous about.
Did you get nauseous this year?
No.
What ended up?
I got I had some kind of altitude issue. Okay. I don't know I don't really fully understand what it was. I've never had a problem with altitude. I feel fit. Like my fitness leading up to this was fine for me, kind of typical, My stomach was fine. I didn't have any nausea. I had a little nausea up at the highest high, up on the top of Mormon Mountain, I had a little bit of nausea. Like I almost just puked, and I was like, oh, that's weird. And I kind of suppressed it because I was like, oh, it's not like my stomach. It's like a dizziness thing. And yeah, like basically once I got around 7,500 feet, which isn't very high, I do live at sea level, but I stayed at my mom's place leading up to this. So for 6 nights, I think leading up to the race, I slept at 7,000 feet or higher.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like that was great for me. You know, normally I don't have much at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then as I'd get closer to 8,000 feet, I would start, my vision would get really blurry. And I started like having small blackouts, and I was like losing consciousness a little bit, and I was like falling over. I was sitting
on Pinions
on Thursday.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
The bulk of it was on Mormon Mountain. It was like right after you were like over 8,000. It was 8,300, 8,400. I can't remember. And I remember because I was looking at, I'm looking at my Wahoo at the altitude the whole time because I'm trying to figure out what, because I got a little bit of it on Eldon, but I just passed it off as it's the first climb of the day.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not a climber.
Yeah, because Eldon's higher.
It's high. And I felt kind of weird as I started the single track, and I actually stopped going on Heart Trail. I stopped at the top, and I was like, wake up, like you got this. And then going down Heart Trail, that's like really familiar riding to me. That's like that's kind of like the only riding really I do is like trail riding like that in San Diego, and it's loose over hard and rocky. And so I had a blast going down that, and it kind of like brought me out of it, but I was also going down. And then I felt fine the whole time I was down. And then coming up there, it was really bad. I couldn't see. I couldn't walk more than like 20 feet. I was like holding my bike, trying not to fall over, just like walking. And I sat down on the ground and, held my bike up, and I couldn't even figure out how to lay my bike down or anything. I just kind of held it, and I just sat on the ground, like leaning my face against it, and for probably 5-10 minutes. And usually that would bring you out of it if it's like exertion or something, or, whatever. The feeling just would not go away. I'm like, okay, it's gotta be the altitude, because it won't go away. I can't make it go away. And my heart didn't feel like it was beating a lot. It felt like I was being like choked out. It was weird. It was like, it was very strange. It was a very quiet feeling. And I felt very like weak and out of control. It was very weird. So when I came down, like the descending on the upper part was hard because my vision was bad. And by the time I got down to Mormon Lake, because that was like about the second time it had really happened that day. I called my mom, who's a nurse, retired nurse, and some other friends. My friend Shannon, who's a surgeon, and none of us could really justify me going further, because the next thing I was going to do is into that single track that'd be hard to get out of, and then be up at 8,000 feet on the rim for a long time, and at night. And it was hard. I had a little ugly cry on the side of the road, because I didn't want to quit, and I felt fine otherwise. But I don't. Like we were saying earlier, I don't want to mess with my brain. There are many things that I'll push through, but that's one thing that it wasn't hard for me to be like, I shouldn't keep going, even though it was hard because I didn't want to, but it was clear. It was a very clear decision.
Yeah. I mean, this is tough. An interesting gray area, like that you're getting into. Yeah. The fine line between pushing and making a good decision, right? And I've always thought, like, I say over and over, like, my self-preservation is high. Like, for me, like, I'm not, I had a couple bad experiences, and that was it. I was like, I'm never doing that. I'm never doing
self-preservation isn't that high. Like, I'll push through bad stuff.
Yes.
And that's where this one, I was like, this is wrong. Something's wrong.
Well, I mean, as we get older, and, like, I'm seeing lots of ultra athletes that are, there are a few outliers, but the majority of them, mid-50s and on, it's like there's a point where you just gotta, like, with any like athlete that's pushing their body, you gotta like find an exit strategy. Yeah. And people struggle with that. Yeah. Like UFC fighters, for example, like when they fight too long, it's just sad to watch.
It is.
And it's like, you should have retired while you're on top, right?
Yeah.
But it's so hard when you're on top to retire.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm trying to think, like, for me personally, I'm like, how many years do I have left? Or how many good years do I have left? How far do I want to push myself? Like, I feel like I'm in my prime right now. Yeah. And then what am I going to do to stay involved later on? Yeah. To be active in the community. Yeah. And still be fulfilled by it, but not have to like do these crazy races. So I'm like literally doing that right now with the podcast and with the race directing. It's like, these are two things that can keep me involved no matter what I do. For right. Sure. So like, hopefully those can continue to grow into other things, and they'll be there when I don't feel like not
Yeah.
sleeping. I didn't feel like pushing myself on this Pinions. I was like not interested in.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was like I just wasn't interested in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like I was for Stagecoach, but I was trying to prove something to myself on Stagecoach.
Yeah, that's what I felt at Pinions 2 years ago.
Really?
I was like, I want to see like how far I could do it safely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I felt like it worked. It worked. Like everything like worked.
Yeah.
That time.
Sometimes it just doesn't. And this
Often.
time around, it could have been altitude sickness. Who knows?
Who knows?
Hopefully it's not something that's recurring.
Right. It could have been a hormonal thing. It could have been, somebody actually just messaged me and said that that she has asthma, and that I think it's an altitude thing, and she lives high up. I think she said at 8,000 feet, and that the symptoms were like identical of what I was describing. And she said, I also get a mild cough. And I was like, I have a mild cough, but it's from Stagecoach.
Oh,
I think, but yeah, so I don't know. I'm gonna go see my doctor when I get home.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? Because I've never had a problem like that before.
Yeah.
And it felt very weird. It takes a lot for me to, like, I'll really suffer and struggle through stuff. So, but that was just like not the same. And it was too early, and and everything else felt fine. Usually if I feel like that, everything else is terrible too.
Yeah.
Like I'm nauseous or puking. There's usually more signs than just that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it's nothing.
Yeah. Hopefully. I feel
too
better
serious.
now.
I think that altitude does get worse with age too.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and I was telling my mom this when I was at her place. Yeah. That I am like finally noticing my aging, and it's taken a long time. And I've noticed small things for a while. Like, I mean, I played soccer my whole life. And so I definitely have some like really tough physical injuries, like body injuries, head injuries, and things that they all add up, spinal injury. And so, but yeah, I've noticed those kinds of things, like the more like either hormonal changes, or I'm 39. And so like the sleep stuff or brain stuff, all those things are starting to change. And I was thinking about that a lot when that altitude was bothering me. I was like, God, I hope this isn't just my new normal, Like,
yeah. Could be.
It might be. And there are certain things that in the past I really, really wanted to do, like Colorado Trail. I probably won't ever do it. I mean, unless I move someplace and I live at elevation, I don't think that for one, I don't really have the time to take off to fully acclimate. And I think that it would be bad for my brain. I think it's unrealistic.
Yeah. Unless you can take the time.
Unless you could take the time off, which I don't
2 weeks,
see that
3
happening.
weeks or something.
Yeah. Which could happen. Before Utah Mixed Epic, I got to travel around like Montana and Idaho, and with Peter we took a road trip. I crashed out of Fitzroy 400 that year. I fell on my face on a cow trail. I had a baby head. I was crossing the trail, so like double track thing, and I hit a rock and flipped over, and I landed on my face, and my teeth went through my chin. I had blood like squirting out my chin.
Oh,
and
your tooth
it was so dumb. Yeah, I had like a tooth here that's like a little more crooked, and it went right through here.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it was goofy. Yeah, I mean, yeah. And so I'm surprised there's not much of a scar. Like I could see it, but most people can't. And but yeah, I had like broke some nasty cartilage thing in my elbow, and I thought I broke my shoulder. It was dumb. All of them ended up being fairly superficial, and so I basically didn't do that race. I did like, I think it was like 100-mile day, and then I got picked up and scratched, and then we went on our road trip, and we just stayed up high. It was like the whole time for 2 weeks leading up to Utah Mixed Epic, because I took that race really seriously, because it was like 960 miles, and that was definitely my like world changing
what year?
Race. 2021.
Okay.
Yeah, it like really changed. I think it's 2021. Yeah, 2021. That year was cool. I talked to Tim, I guess yesterday, and it was yesterday. And we were saying how that was such a cool ride for everybody that did it. Like there were just really big things. It was really moving for everybody.
Yeah. That was when Tim was still organizing it.
Yeah. I think there were like 12 of us that finished it.
900 something miles, you said?
Like 960.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
it's less now, right?
I think it's all over. Like Jackie's there's like a short version and a long version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's with Jackie's approach to
I don't know.
Corporate speak?
I think part of that is keeping it a mystery, right? Like
Yeah.
not ever calling it a race and not ever doing all that. And it's hilarious.
It's so funny because I like
funny, she's
work
gone
in
fully
that world. And she's so with it. She's so got that corporate speak nail.
No, Jackie's funny. Yeah, she's funny. Yeah, so I think she's just trying to, it's just like, the same kind of thing, that same angle of, doing unsanctioned races and just keeping them kind of like off the radar to anybody who would care about that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, it's just like if you're gonna bring your something to the luncheon or
the like it's good. Yeah, it's good.
That's so funny. So cool.
Yeah,
let me get my notes out here because we've covered like most of what I wanted to ask you. I did want to ask you about your sleep setup. Do you bring a tarp?
It's always different.
Okay, because I've seen lots of like, you have like lots of Instagram pictures with you have like a super low tarp on the ground.
Yeah, I like the tarp. I forget what it is. Maybe a Bora Designs tarp. I think.
Yeah,
just like an ultralight tarp. I like the tarp if it's gonna be windy or wet. Tarp is like pretty easy to set up if you practice it. Yeah, I think if you don't practice it, it's useless. You really have to practice it. So highly recommend a tarp because it weighs nothing, it compresses down, and it's like a great shelter. But you absolutely have to practice it because you can use your bike. I have it pre-tied, so like the ways I like to tie it, I just have my tie downs on there so that I have two options on how to set it up if I have trees or I don't.
Okay.
So then I just always throw in like, I think it's 3 spikes, and then I use my bike as one of them.
The bike handlebar is the prop pole.
Yep. Usually, because where I live, there are no trees.
Right.
If I'm here, I used it last year. Hannah and I camped on top of Mingus, and we both set our tarps up because we thought it might rain, and it was great.
So practice looks like taking it out back, learning how to tie knots,
and considering where you might be camping. Because if you're in the desert and there are no trees, you need to figure out how to do it with your bike. You know, or if you're in a place where there's no rocks, because sometimes I'll use rocks on the corners. You have to make sure you have enough stakes and stuff like that. So you have to just be really conscious of what your setup might be when you stop. And I pre-tied, have the tie downs on the corners already where I like them, so I don't have to think about it when I'm tired. I like the tarp, and I like an e-bivy because you can use it, you can lay on it as a just a ground tarp, or you can get inside of it, and use it as a sleeping bag liner. You don't want to put on the outside because then your bag gets wet. People have a lot of opinions on the e-bivvies, but like
the MSR e-bivvy, is that what you're talking about?
Like a not like a sack, like a soul bivvy kind of thing, like the Mylar bags. I have like some cheapy one, and they're great, and I think that for what their purpose is, they're awesome. And people say, oh, they're only for emergencies. Well, but if you're only trying to sleep for 2 hours, it's fine. Like you're a little damp, but like you're not like deathly damp that you're gonna be shaking and stuff. Like, I mean, you're already gonna be uncomfortable. So it's like, I forget who said it, but it's like, how comfortable are you with being uncomfortable? And I think if you're okay with being uncomfortable, if you're only gonna sleep for 2 hours, an emergency bivvy is amazing. You get inside that thing and you are warm. Instantly. And you just have to put it inside the bag as a liner, which doesn't feel great on your skin. So, it's nice to have a leg warmers on or something, and you can get everybody's shoes on. Who cares, It's a bag on the outside if you have a bag. I think they're great.
So back to the tarp, because I'm learning the tarp game right now. So I have a lot of questions on the tarp. So did you practice specific knots, or like there's like tension knots?
Let's see. The tie downs that I have are like, I forget the brand. They're like Night Eyes or Z something. They're like I feel like there's a Z in the name, but they're some basic brand that you can buy like at REI, and they have a little hook loop thing on them. So you loop them, like, you have it tied to the tarp, and then you put out your stake, and it like loops through and attaches, and then it has like a pull thing that tensions it.
And like teeth on it that hold it in place.
So
like one-way teeth.
And so I don't know many knots. I know like some really basic ones. I forget what it's called, where you can, I forget. Peter knows all the knots because he was a rigger. But I think I used one of those just to connect it to the actual tarp itself. But other than that, I just like knotted a few times. That sounds
so much easier. The with the little plastic cam whatever on them.
It's a little one, and they have a YouTube video that's 15 seconds long that shows you how to do it. So and what I did is I just screen recorded that and saved it in my favorites on my photos, so that when I got to camp and I was like, I don't know who I am. What do I do with this green string? You know, I pulled the video out and I was like, awesome.
Totally.
Yep. That's what I do.
Oh.
I save all this into my favorites. Like when Dana wrote, you know, what the single track mileage was or whatever on that Facebook, somebody asked him.
Yeah.
And in a Facebook comment, he was like, these are roughly the mileage points where the single track was. Screenshot it, put it in my favorites. And then I just kind of clean up that favorites folder before the race so that I have everything really accessible.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so important.
Yeah.
Just like getting yourself, people don't understand until they're in that headspace how worthless you are.
You're worthless. So worthless. And that's why, and also like you might not have internet. Like you can't look up the YouTube video, but you can screen record it and rewatch it on your phone, you know?
Yeah. God, I've been practicing my knots every day for like a year.
Nice.
Well, maybe not every day, but I switched to once a week.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm doing CTR. And I was like, I'm doing a tarp and I'm going to learn how to do this. So I'm in autopilot. But I just would have bought the like little
Get it. It's like $9.
Yeah, they're probably the same weight too.
Yeah, they're nothing. I mean, they're just the same thin, you know, like thin paracord stuff, and then they just have the little plastic thing on them, and it's just you get it.
I'm going to.
Yeah,
that's so much easier.
Yeah,
because the tension was what I was struggling with. Like, and then figuring out like when it's windy,
it tensions itself, which is great. Yeah, because you just have to tie it, and then you just
tie it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have a pretty ultralight sleep setup, like minimalist.
I do. And part of that is not because I want it like that. It's because I have a respiratory allergy to down feathers. And so I cannot use down. I found that out during Utah Mixed Epic when my whole face swelled shut after putting my head inside my bag overnight. And so I had to get rid of all my down stuff, you know, sell it, gave some to Peter, and replace everything with synthetic, which is much bigger and much heavier. And so I ride a small frame. I ride a full suspension, small frame. And so I don't really have a choice. I mean, like I carry a bunch of stuff, but it makes you slow. It does. I mean, there's no denying that carrying a bunch of extra stuff just slows you down. It does. Even if it's just bulk that you're trying to push up a bike, you know. And I like riding my bike. You know, I feel like I consider myself a mountain biker, not like a bikepacker or, you know, bike ride. I know. So I like riding the bike, and riding the bike with a bunch of stuff on it sucks. You know, when I first started bikepacking, I put everything on the bike because so many people told me, you don't want it on your back. You don't want it on your back. It's bad for you. You don't want it on your back. And backpacks never bothered me. So, you know, I did that, but then I have like, you know, 40 pounds of shit on my bike and you can't ride it. It's just this big hunk of junk and it sucks. Takes all the fun out of it. Put some on your back and then you can like ride it, and you can hike a bike better because you can push it up stuff and it's not so heavy. Yeah.
These people that I think like El Frico, Jeff, he's pretty like doesn't wear a backpack. Yeah. He's got a single speed. Yeah. All of his water's in his frame. I'm just like, dude, how do you do that?
He's an animal. But Jeff is like on another level.
Oh yeah. Like... I hope to have him on soon. I want to have him and Holly on, but and really dive into him.
Oh, that'd be fun to have the two of them.
Yeah, that's a plan.
You should see if you could do it at their place.
Yeah.
Their place is rad.
Yeah. I'm gonna go visit them.
Yeah. They just
in
built
the next couple months.
They were showing me at their new like bike garage that the two of them built together.
Really?
You know, at their place. Yeah, you gotta go check it out.
Nice.
Yeah. They have a rad little homestead.
Yeah, I want to capture that whole thing.
It's cool.
But yeah, there are those people that there was a dude, Steven Sherrill, that did pinions. He was a single speeder. Yeah. Didn't have a backpack. He had like a hip pack. Yeah. Which I don't know.
I can't do those.
No, me neither.
Because my frame's so small and there's not a lot of space in between the seat and like my little front snack pack.
Yeah.
There's not enough room for my butt in that gap. It's only this big. So then when I have a fanny pack on, it pushes it up my back. I guess because I'm short.
Yeah.
I'm short legs. So like, because a lot of people have so much more room there and I just don't have any. I'm like on the top tube.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I tried that for Utah Mixed Epic, and that was I think the first time I really fully committed to wearing a backpack. And people were like, "You're not gonna like it. You're wearing this backpack the whole time." I don't even notice it.
Yeah, you know? Well, everybody's different.
Everybody's different.
But I think that the key, if I had one piece of advice to give to people over the things I've learned, it's like there's no one way to do it. Like
absolutely.
Distribute everything. Like water, gear, even it all out. That's a great. Because I went one time I carried all my water on my back, and then I was like, oh, that gives me saddle sores. I'm going to put it all on my bike. And then I couldn't push my bike up the mountain as well. And I was just like totally destroyed. My arms were destroyed. Yeah. And it was like, oh, you can do both. And just like put a little on your back and a little on your bike and have things like spread out. Yeah. And it's like that with food, and it's like that with gear. And
Yeah, you kind of figure out like, and knowing where your stuff is, I think is really important too.
Yeah.
Like, kind of having it in the same place, kind of getting a rhythm. And yeah.
That always kind of starts out good, but kind of deteriorates by the end.
Does it?
For me.
Yeah.
Like stuff's just, well, now I only have 2 bags, so it really isn't
yeah.
a choice, because I used to have the feed bags and the gas tank and the top tube bag but now I'm only running a front roll, which is just a sleep kit.
Yep.
A feed bag and a frame bag.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't have to worry about putting stuff in the wrong spot because there's only 3 places now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's actually like simpler is better on that.
Yeah. But, for sure. When I carry a bigger sleep kit, you're just asking about like the light one. I mean, like when we went to Death Valley for a week in January, Chaz and Alvin invited a group of us to go up there we rode for 6 days. It was amazing. It was like so much fun. It was the ride that I needed to be like, oh yeah, I love bikepacking, because after Fitzjoy, I had so much trouble with that. I didn't sleep for 57 hours, not on purpose. That's how it happened because I couldn't sleep.
So why couldn't you sleep?
There were places I was trying to sleep were disruptive. So my plan went to shit. So I tried to sleep for a couple hours. And actually some of the people got a room and I had some floor space in there, but it was just loud. People were coming in and out, couldn't sleep. So I just got up and left. And then the next night I tried to sleep at a little park and it was really cold and there was 2 dogs barking the entire time. And it was just like at me. And Kevin was there too. And we were both just like, oh my God. And so then I didn't sleep. So then I had like pretty bad sleep deprivation problems, and ended up having to book a room later in a different place and actually sleep before finishing. So so coming around then in January to have that really fun bikepacking ride where we'd get to camp each day. I mean, the people who did that ride were like very high caliber riders, so like we would do a pretty intense ride, but it was very manageable. So we would always stop like maybe an hour before dark and we'd have time to set up our camp and have fun. We'd have a campfire and hang out. And it was so rejuvenating. Yeah. But we were carrying 10 liters of water each day, which is a lot. And then we carried 5 days of food because the only resupply was on day 5. And we were supposed to do 7 days, but we had to condense day 6 and 7 into one day at the end because a storm came in. So big day.
I'm still doing the mental weight math on the water and the food.
It was insane. I got an old man mountain rack.
25 pounds of water and maybe like 10 pounds of food?
Probably. At least.
Had 10 liters?
10 liters.
Yeah, that's like 26 pounds of water or something.
It was a lot.
Dang. Okay.
And we were doing that essentially every day.
And it was sandy?
It was like rocky.
Okay.
There's sand also. Yeah, sand and rocks basically. Death Valley, I would say like the riding, from what I remember, is mostly it was rocky.
Yeah.
And really chunky. It was like a gear test and people just flying off their bikes and they're all experienced people, but there's some people doing some product testing too. And so we were like really pushing all of that stuff to the limit.
Yeah.
And I got an old man mountain rack, which is amazing. I couldn't recommend it enough.
Really?
Amazing.
Those things make me leery.
No,
it's just great. Where does it attach?
Axle mount. And there's an axle. Forget the name of the axle, but there's their company. They have an axle that for different. Each bike, you put in your model and stuff, and then you buy the axle, or you can mount it if you have stays and stuff like that. But I just don't. I don't have any pilots or anything because it's a carbon blur full suspension, so there's nothing.
Yeah, you don't want to attach to that.
Yeah.
So the axle's the best point.
Yep, axle, and then up on the seat stays.
Yeah, and you just beat the crap out of it and haven't had any issues.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's so good. And the weight rating for it is something crazy like 60 pounds, which you're never going to put that on there.
Yeah.
But it was nice. I could put 1.5 liters of water on each side because there's cage holders. I borrowed some buoy bags, Roadrunner buoy bags from my friend Paul. And so I could stuff like my, my puffy and my rain layer and stuff around the Nalgene's. I think I used smart water bottles. I just put duct tape on them because my shit was getting so heavy. I was like, oh my God. So I didn't even bring the plastic Nalgene's. I just brought smart water bottles to save just a little more weight because it was just so heavy. And but it was great. I had that, and then I had my 20-degree bag, which is synthetic. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's this big Sea to Summit bag, and it rolls up. It's like this wide, and that long. But yeah, I just put that thing on the rack and I got all the water on the sides. It was so heavy.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. I brought a 22-liter light framed backpack, and nobody else had a framed pack, and everybody else's shoulders were hurting, or people were complaining about that. And so the framed pack was like, where is that? I looked at some of the people who, people who I respect who did AZT 800,
Yeah.
you know, ATR, and looked at what they kind of had and what kind of size packs they had, and it seemed like everybody liked the light framed and about the 20 to 24 liter.
Mm-hmm.
And I have one
Mm-hmm.
that a while, like years ago, Backcountry sent it to me. I don't know, maybe before they were a bigger company. They were like, for product test or review or something. I was like, okay, great, I have this really nice backpack now. And it was perfect for it. I had no pain. Like all the weight was on my hips. I couldn't feel it. It was off my back, like the air. There was an air gap. It was nice. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was rad. So that was like another really like highly recommend that kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
rather than stuffing a backpack. I use a smaller pack for things like Pinions and Pines, but for something big, if you can get like a 20 to 22 liter with a light frame, it's worth it. It looks big and crazy, but it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah.
It was great.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I've evolved into the vest, the running vest.
Oh yeah.
I wear that and really like that.
People
but
like those. Yeah.
Yeah, they're really like a second skin.
Yeah.
However, I did discover that I did the Verde Valley Randonnée about, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, and I achieved my goal, got under 24 hours, but the weeks following I was having like significant breathing problems or like soreness in my
weird.
diaphragm or in my chest, in my lungs. That was like
what was
nothing I've ever experienced. It was weird. I thought I was like, I don't know,
you're sick or something,
developing asthma
Yeah.
or some kind of like post-COVID damage, or I was like coming up with all this stuff in my head of what it
trying
could
to
be.
figure it out.
Yeah. So I started to feel that at the beginning of Pinions, and I just like, there's like two, the vest is on and there's like two like elastic straps that hold it together.
Yeah.
And I popped one of those off and I immediately felt a little relief.
Isn't that funny?
And then I popped the other one off and just left it open. And I realized I just was basically like constricting
constricting your chest.
my chest, and trying to like tell my body to go through this thing, but you know, breathe through a straw, like sort of thing. Like you can't take a full breath, but you're going to do this crazy thing.
Yeah.
And
it's funny how like those things happen and you don't realize like this one thing that is causing so many problems.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to like try stuff.
I thought I had a serious problem.
Yeah.
I was going to go to the doctor and get it all checked out and do like asthma tests and stuff, but don't have to deal with all that now. But I immediately felt relief and I was like, oh, thank God. So I don't know. I was like all in the vest camp, but now I'm a little bit like, you don't actually need it that tight when you're riding. It's designed for ultra runners that are jostling up and down, you know.
Yeah,
for
when you're
hundreds of
riding, you
miles.
don't have to. Yeah, I keep mine pretty loose. I keep it tight on my hips, my bags, you know.
Yeah.
I think I can't really do a vest just because I want to carry more stuff.
Yeah.
And also like
tight.
And also wearing a sports bra, it's like, I know people wear base layers, but like sports bras get wet and stay wet. And then having 3 layers, you know, if it was like the sports bra, the jersey, and the vest, it's just, there's no chance of drying out. Whereas the backpack has that kind of air gap on the back a little bit, and it's just a lot better to go into the night with that.
Right. Yeah. I think Osprey makes one that was very popular, the Stratos 24 or something. That was very popular on the AZTR for a while.
Yeah.
Is that the one you were referencing?
I wrote them all down. You know, I like wrote down what each person, and I listed, and it looked like a few people used that one. I have an Osprey that's not framed that I use for most stuff. It's a smaller, like Salida or something.
Osprey has that design, so it's got the gap in the back.
Yep, it's nice.
There's
I love it.
They have some fancy name for it. But it keeps it off your back, and then it is kind of like a mixed. I don't know if that's what you call what did you call it, a hard frame or? Yeah,
like a frame, like a light frame, kind of like framed like a backpacking pack, but it's smaller.
Yeah, it's not like the old school ones my parents used to have that had like, you remember those with the big like aluminum?
I've used one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I used one early on when I first went bikepacking, and then they came out with internal frame packs.
Yes.
After that, but the Osprey's like, it's nice. The only problem I have with that particular pack is it sits up kind of high, and it'll pop me in the back of the head. Yeah. If you go off whatever drops and stuff. Yeah. Which gets really annoying after hundreds of miles.
Yep. I went on a ride. My partner Peter does a lot of work with some of like our local border aid groups, you know? Yeah. And we went on a moonlight ride. It was a full moon, and it was like pretty great. And we go out and drop like aid supplies out in the desert and like some pretty interesting remote places that people are walking through, you know?
Yeah.
And I brought that bag though, and I was like, this is going to be solid test run because I'm going to fill it to the brim with Gatorades and like bandanas and all these things that we leave for them.
Yeah.
And filled it up absolutely to its maximum, you know, and same with my bike, which is like, I'm like, more bikepackers should get into that, you know, if that's their thing, because they're like the perfect people to do that. You know what I mean? Like load your bike up with 100 pounds of liquid and ride out into the desert, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was the perfect test for that bag though, because I'm like, it's never going to be this heavy again, you know. In Death Valley, I'm like, oh, it's actually not. Feels pretty good now because it doesn't have 50-pound of Gatorade in it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Did you grow up in that area?
No, I'm my mom and my dad, they split when I was kind of young, but they're both in the Army. And so I was born in DC. I was born at Andrews Air Force Base because my mom was stationed at Fort Meade. My mom and dad were, and my family's mostly from Wisconsin, like kind of near Minneapolis, actually, like northwest Wisconsin. And but we moved a lot. I ended up going to college in Texas because that's where my mom retired. And then after college, I wanted to live someplace nicer and a lot different. So I moved as far away as I could to the furthest corner of the U.S., which is San Diego. Yeah. So I didn't grow up there. I lived there for a while though. I've been there since like 2009.
Okay. Yeah, because with the kind of the humanitarian work, what kind of got you into that?
Honestly, Peter, I mean, I feel like my mom has always been into humanitarian work of like all kinds. She's just like, she's just really driven to help people. So I feel like that's probably the most inspiration for any of that kind of stuff in my life, is that she's always been very, that's a very important part of like being alive. If you're privileged enough and you're capable enough to help other people, you should. And so that's probably where that mindset came from. It translates in different ways. I mean, it could be so simple. It doesn't have to mean that you volunteer like at a food bank, but you just like generally being a kind person and helping people, that's, I think, just as important. But yeah, the humanitarian stuff with the border, honestly, Peter got really into it, especially like 2020, 2021. I think that was when it was like, because some of those groups weren't maybe quite as organized or doing quite as much because of the post-COVID stuff. Stuff got a little out of whack with, so groups got smaller or they splintered a little bit. And so he ended up helping a lot with one of our friends who had kind of broken off from one of the main groups, and they just would go out alone together a lot. And our friend Dave is awesome, and he actually got a second e-bike so that Peter could help him. So they have e-bikes with essentially bob trailers on the back, and they just load them up with stuff. And it's hard work. They're portaging like over these like pretty intense rocky areas, and that moon ride is the only one that I've done with them. They usually do it on the overnight that I work, and so it doesn't really work out with my work schedule. But that was like, for us, we used one of those groups was our Stagecoach donation options. For if you register for Stagecoach, I asked for a $30 minimum donation to one of several groups, and I try to pick something that everybody can relate to. So there's like an environmental group, like a mountain biking group, border relief group. What is the other one? San Diego River Valley. We did some for like the Booster Club. Oh yeah, and then a group that helps get it like underprivileged kids doing outdoor stuff, outdoor outreach. Yeah. So we have like great groups where whoever you donate to is awesome. And some people donate to all of them. It's amazing. Yeah. Like the amount of donations we give are pretty great. But yeah, that was one of the groups, because I do feel like I wish I could physically take part in it more, because I'm physically capable of doing it. Yeah. But you can't always, time-wise, right? But I could redirect at least like some funding to them. So that was one of the groups. Yeah.
Have they ever gotten in any kind of precarious situation while they're out doing this in the desert?
Yeah.
With the wrong groups of people on the border?
Totally. Yeah. There are like
drug runners and
border patrol. Yeah. They have like different, there was a, I guess, sort of like a higher profile case in Arizona, and I don't want to misquote any of it, but like some years ago, doing Ruta del Jefe, one of the groups, No More Deaths, No Más Muertes, in southern Arizona, one or two of their people got arrested for harboring because a migrant came through while they were like at their storehouse. Okay. And then, but I don't know what happened exactly, but anyways, the Americans got arrested for harboring. And it was a big thing. A case got thrown out. So that was great.
Yeah.
You know, as like setting a precedent
Yeah.
that it got thrown out. Because I think before that, everybody was while it was happening, everybody in those groups were very nervous about helping, you know, because you don't want to go to prison, you know, for giving somebody water. And so nothing so extreme as to that has happened to my knowledge in recent years in the San Diego or California area. But they have had issues with Border Patrol agents coming out and dumping out all the supplies on the ground, which is pretty terrible. To haul something to an area and then have a couple people who are just have some animosity do that. Most of them do not, to be fair. Most of them do not. We ran into Border Patrol that night. We were very far out there, and 2 guys and a dog came up on us around midnight and really startled us. I mean, the guy running it, our group, Dave, he's wonderful. He's really soft-spoken and level-headed. Everybody out there was, and they just were like, "Are you guys dropping supplies?" And we're like, "Yes," because we obviously were. We're sitting in a pile of them that we were putting out.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Okay, we saw you in the cameras and we had to check you. You were just doing our job." And we're like, "Okay, cool." And the dog ran to each of us and kind of booped each of us. I think it was counting us, and then just sat down and started playing with the toy. I mean, it was like so trained, and they were like, "Okay," and they just turned around and just like dipped, and we never saw them again. They had hiked out where we had hiked, but then there were other, in terms of like, you know, runners, and there were a couple times that people I know have been out there and they've been told, you know, you shouldn't have been on the other side of that canyon, because that's where this group of people go, and it's like they're notorious for their you know, bringing people out there and killing them. And so they're like, "Oh, okay, you know, we didn't really know that boundary." Some of the groups are more knowledgeable than others, you know, and so so they have certain areas that they really stay away from.
Yeah,
but they toe the line, but yeah, it's a little tricky. And they see people, you know, they'll be like, "Oh, there's a person over there."
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So I grew up like 30 minutes from the border, from Nogales, south of Tucson.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't
so
know
this
that.
was like common
all the time.
Like we were hunters, bird hunters, me and my dad, and we backed up to state land.
Yeah.
And we would go out on our quads, and so we would see the caches that people would leave. And this was, you know, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
But it was always armed. We were always armed because you never knew what you were going to come across out in the desert on your own.
You never know, because people are being taken advantage of. Like the people walking across are just trying to do the right thing for them, but like they're being taken advantage of left and right. Yeah,
and they'll just get dropped and left. Like people, you know, the cartels will hire people to, you know, transport people, and it's really difficult to see when you're out there in it. I mean, we lived on some acreage, and there's a story that I always remember where I'm sitting there looking out the window eating my breakfast cereal, right? And I see 2 people run by the window.
Yeah.
And then I see 2 Border Patrol agents running after them through our yard, in our front yard, right? And they're being pursued, like, and I'm just like
eating cereal
on my way to high school, right? Gonna go to my class here. And we had a barbed wire fence all around the property, and the 2 people that were running were not just like the normal type of person you would see getting trafficked across. They weren't like the families, or, you know, there was like women and children, and like that was like the common. You'd see them. We'd drive down our dirt road, and you'd see them all lined up on the side of the road, and the Border Patrol were intaking them or whatever.
Yeah, they surrendered.
These people were definitely had something on them that they didn't want found, right? And they just like rolled over the barbed wire fence. I watched them, and as they ran up to the fence, they like pulled their jacket off as they were running and threw it over the fence and did this roll move, and then meanwhile the like greenhorn Border Patrol agent, big belly, like gets his gun caught in the fence, like a cartoon, you know.
Oh my God.
He's like fumbling around and trying to get over the fence.
And you're just like,
it's like, and I'm just like, this is normal life for me, right? And like people don't have any idea. And like we didn't see police officers. It was just all Border Patrol. And anytime we would drive around, there'd be like, I think the thing with the Border Patrol agents is like, I have a lot of respect for law enforcement and Border Patrol. However, there were a lot of people that would come in that were like super kind of hot, like trigger fingered,
yeah,
you know, that were young.
It's a job that protects people who are hot. It doesn't mean that they all are hot, but it protects those people.
Yeah.
It encourages some of that behavior.
Yeah. And so we would see people that we would always get pursued because my dad, he was in woodworking, and he was a carpenter for many years and owned his own business, and he had a van with no windows.
Oh, yeah.
Right. It was like his work van, but he had like a $700 van with no windows. So it was like a classic, like,
are there people in the back of the van? Yeah, of course.
So we would always get followed. Always.
Yeah.
Right. By the new Border Patrol agents that didn't know or didn't get the memo on.
Yeah.
Because we'd be driving out of the same piece of desert that all of the trafficking was done through. Right. And there were cars always left out in the desert. And there were people, my neighbor actually, one of his side businesses was to like go out into the desert and harvest parts off the cars that were left out there. Wow. And then he'd like sell them. You know, so there was this whole weird like
desert's a whole thing.
Yeah, it was a whole thing, you know. And then I moved to Flagstaff, and now like it's whatever 25 years later, and the border's like still a big issue or whatever. Right, and it's just I'm still not sure I don't have a final answer on.
There's not an
how
answer.
I feel.
There's not an answer. Not. It's like it's like an overpopulated world, and people are suffering, and there's not like enough. It's not that there's not enough to go around. There's a disparity that's not shared, and so there's massive inequality. Yeah, and there's not a way to dig a hole out of it right now.
Yeah,
so there's not like an answer.
Well, the one thing that's for sure is a lot of people, privileged Americans, complain about work. Yeah, they complain about doing a lot of work that needs to get done. Yeah, like entry-level jobs. Yeah, people gripe about all the time, and they I don't want to sound like an old man here, but like it seems like people want to just jump to the end of the line a lot more now than kind of work their way through the process. Yeah. Right. And those jobs are getting filled by people who will do them. Yeah. And I'm just talking like any non-technical
jobs. Yep. Jobs that you don't need like whatever you have prerequisite.
Yeah, yeah, like a skilled trade. Yeah. You know, and we saw a lot of the trades working in and around the cabinet business. We saw a lot of, you know, immigrants that would come in and work in the trades, you know, and learn a skill. And they were like amazing at this kind of work. Right.
Yeah. Motivated.
And it's kind of interesting because you're seeing a little bit of a shift in the way higher ed is approaching this problem too, because you're seeing kind of a devaluation of degrees now. Yeah. Yeah. Across all the universities. And I've always been like, all in on trades. Like I think trades are awesome. The future. Yeah. Because a lot of it's going to be taken over. A lot of the non-trade stuff is going to be partially taken over by AI, right? Accountants, lawyers, programmers, like all that stuff that was hot like 10 years ago. Yeah. Part of that market share, graphic designers, production, video production, all this stuff. It's all going to get partially taken over by AI, right? Not completely, but and then what are all those people going to do? Right? All those skilled people, right? Yeah. And I'm like, people are still going to need to like fix toilets and landscape yards and do the stuff that software can't do. Yeah. Right. And be HVAC people. Like those people are going to be, those are the new, I don't know if you saw the South Park on this, but
no, I haven't.
Oh my God.
Is it good?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like all the tradespeople are like the ballers, and they're like driving the Escalades.
All
and
the
stuff.
blue collar people.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so funny.
And all the lawyers and everybody else in town, they're like at the Home Depot looking for work. Like, do you need an accountant?
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, yeah.
And it's totally true. Like I'm totally believe this is going to happen. Yeah. Right. And so working in higher ed's kind of interesting because you're seeing this like. It was so prestigious and like, and I'm not faculty. I'm on the admin side of things. I work in a print shop, so I like am in the trades. Yeah, you know, but I see it every day. Like they just don't want to accept that this is the future because they're kind of up on this pedestal. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, academics for being generally a very progressive, you know, group of demographic. Yes. Yeah. They are definitely, they definitely have pride in their place, their work, and
it's kind of like deeply satisfying though for me because I'm like Who's gonna fix your stuff?
I know.
You know?
I mean, I feel like once a month somebody says, what do you think about when they make tattoo machines? There's gonna be like a robot doing it. I'm like, it's not gonna fucking happen. I mean, it's not gonna happen for so long. Like, there are so many physical factors involved in that whole trade.
Yeah.
That it's just, there are gonna be things, you know, that are different, but there's not, it's just not something I'm deeply concerned about.
Right.
Definitely. I mean, definitely not during my lifetime, but probably not for a really long time.
Right, because you're talking robotics now, right? Which is kind of the trade side of things.
Yeah.
So you have like the software side of things with AI, which is just like moving so fast, right?
Yeah.
But that can only do so much with the robotics, right?
Yeah.
And like,
it's just so subjective.
yeah.
Each situation's
so
different.
the other thing you got to think about is, okay, so you ask ChatGPT to, or whatever the visual one is, right? Like I'm in the Adobe world, so you can like ask it to create images for you and stuff and art and all that. And it's like, that's great. But like, don't humans want to see what other humans have created?
They do. And I think that's why people like getting tattooed. It's like, not only do you get this like thing that you're collecting or whatever, but you're also collecting sort of like, and developing an experience with the person that you get tattooed by.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not the case all the time, you know, and I definitely see my job more as a trade than like an art. I think there's different mindsets within my industry. Well, there are for sure. Very, very different mindsets all over with it. From the tattooers themselves. Some people would say I'm a tattoo artist. Some people say I'm a tattooer. You know, some people, they say different things based on, I think, how they consider themselves.
Yeah.
You know, and I considered it a trade. I went into it like, sure, I'm an artist, you know, but I like doing kind of installation stuff and I like doing crafty kind of stuff. And yeah, I drew a lot, but not like some of my friends.
Right.
You know, some of my friends are such amazing illustrators. And I would be like, you're an artist. Absolutely. You know, but for me, I learned it kind of like as in a trade kind of way. You know, it was more like a practice until I became good at like a skill, you know? And so it's like, different mindsets on it, but yeah.
What was your first tattoo you got?
That I got? Oh my God.
On your body.
Well, I was born in 1985, so my first tattoo that I got was a Chinese symbol on my hip, if you had to ask Dylan, and it is covered up. Because then, I don't know, 5 years later, it was like, what were we doing? Because back then, you pick stuff off the wall. It was a different thing, you know, custom was new, and you just walked in and you're like that, which honestly now, we do pick stuff off the wall things, but the stuff on the wall is just way cooler. You know, now it's custom art pages on the walls, and you can be like, wow, that so-and-so drew that. I want that. Yeah. But back then you'd be like, you know, I lived in Texas, so they'd be like, oh, I want that tribal.
Yeah. Those are the choices.
I want a tribal on my arm.
Chinese or tribal?
Chinese or tribal. They said trouble, never tribal. Trouble.
Oh my God.
It was painful.
Was there a lot of like last name back tattoos in Texas?
Oh yeah, I've done so many of those. Yeah. So many.
Was there any that were like really long?
Oh,
and it got really small?
Like, yes, because people don't understand that.
Yeah, perspective. I deal with this all the time in printing.
Oh my God, yes. To answer your question.
Yes. They were like, can't you just like...
Yeah.
And you're like, no, it doesn't work.
One time I did one, it was like a last name with a dash and then another name, you know, and I just did the dash and then the other name underneath it.
Oh my gosh.
It's so silly looking. It's just what it is. Somebody's in this is going to get offended. I'm sorry that you have that on your back, but...
It is what it is.
It is.
That was you know, I had piercings in high school and stuff. And
do you
I was
have any
like,
tattoos?
No.
You know,
I never got tattoos. Like piercings were
Don't do it.
Why not?
I feel like it's cool to have none.
It's
or like a lot.
It's kind of the
it's
like,
cool.
Yeah, it's the rebellious
different.
Is not having any now, right?
No, honestly, I mean, like us in the industry, whenever people don't have any, usually we're like, whoa, that's cool. Like, don't do it.
Really?
Like, yeah, because it's weird.
It's wild.
You know, because we're so used to just like tattooed people, right? You know, and then or people are like, oh my God, fresh skin, but it's kind of weird. I don't know. I'm more like, don't do it because it's neat.
It's like the de-virginizing of someone's skin.
Some people are into that.
They're into that.
Some people are so strange. Yeah, my industry's full of very weird people, as are, you know, everybody all over is weird, but my industry's got some weirdos. Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah.
No, I never could commit to the one. I knew that like I would constantly change.
Yeah.
As a human, I'm gonna like constantly change my perspectives and look back, and I just couldn't commit to putting one thing. And I've thought what would it be? And I thought seriously, if I finished the Arizona Trail 800,
I would get that, and I scratched.
Oh,
So
that was
that
the
same
sign.
year, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that
we
right.
both
I
scratched that year.
too.
Remember?
God, that was rough.
Yeah. I was not that year. I was just like, fuck this, like grass and
The grass.
snakes.
I couldn't see anything. The grass was up over my head.
Yeah.
And I was like, and it was
Fuck
just like
this.
wading through baby heads.
Yes.
And just like the grass and like no views. And yeah, I had that year. Oh, I had like horrible chafing. I had really bad nausea, couldn't eat. And I just had some like ungodly. That was the last time I wore a chamois in a bike race.
Really?
Yep.
Is that the new thing? Chamois free zone?
No more chafing.
You're like the fourth person that's told me that.
No more chafing. No more saddle sores. I didn't really get a lot of saddle sores. I feel like I have a really good routine with like, I use this tea tree wipes for your face.
Yeah.
I use like once a day. I like clean everything off with that, put a little bacitracin on, and I don't have to get saddle sores. But the no chamois thing, you know, because they're like just bacteria sponges.
Yeah.
That is just like smashing and rubbing you all day because it doesn't move with your skin. So
Right.
you have to put cream on it so that you're gliding on it, right? But like if you just have like running tights, like short running tights, then they don't. It just moves with your skin. It's way better.
I'm trying it.
And you can take the your shell off, like because I wear like a mountain bike shell over, you know, like I don't usually wear a kit. I don't really wear bibs or anything like that. So I wear like mountain bike shorts over that, which also isn't always great because like I do sometimes, like I get chafing even just Thursday behind my knee a little bit, but you can take them off and just wear them as just shorts, you know, because they're not a base layer, so they're not see-through or anything.
Right.
But yeah, there was who was it? Doug Hanna, Stagecoach guy from Boulder. He recommended a brand and I tried them. I didn't get the ones he said, but I got just something of that brand and they were great. And I've tried a few others and it kind of just doesn't matter. You get used to the seams. At first I was like, I don't know about all these seams in my body, and it's fine. Get used to it. And yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's like, and
I'm
they're
gonna try it.
thinner. So you can, if you want to bring a second pair, it's not taking up nearly the amount of room.
Right.
You know, so it's easier to decide if you want to throw another pair in there to alternate. It's also easier just to clean them off. I use like alcohol prep pads. You just clean them off and it's just, there's so much less fabric.
Yeah.
Pour water on it and they're dry in 10 minutes as opposed to like a chamois where you're like committing to letting them dry. Yeah.
I think it's a big chamois industry has been holding us down this whole time.
Yeah, it truly has.
They're like,
yeah.
they've brainwashed us into thinking we need more.
Yeah. The only time now that I, and you know, like back in the day I rode with a chamois with a Brooks saddle, like a leather Brooks. And then I went through like, you know, a million different kinds of saddles. And now I'm back to the waterproof rubber Brooks.
Yes.
And no chamois.
That's what, the C17 or
I was C19.
C19.
Big,
like the race one?
Butt.
Oh, yeah. It's okay.
Yeah, I need the widest
no
one.
judgment.
I have the widest one. I know. My mom.
I have a particularly narrow butt.
Do you? I have, my sit bones are so wide. My mom was an army midwife and my sit bones are so wide that she was like, said something about like some women in labor have, and I was like, please don't. Like, don't even finish that sentence. So yeah, but so I use a C19 and I found that actually like, cause it's under your sit bones and it alleviates all of that pressure.
Yeah.
You have to tilt it up just a hair. You know, I mean, everybody's bodies are different, right? But for me, I have the nose up just a hair. And that's the way they say to set it up. They give you a pamphlet and it says to do that. So that might be a good thing to default start with and then kind of move it from there. Yeah, I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah. So Andrew Stremke, no chamois.
Yeah.
Kurt Ruffsnyder, no chamois.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's the way.
yeah.
I think Brendan has switched to no chamois.
I'm going to give it a try.
Yeah. Peter does no chamois. There are several Stagecoach women, Emily, Sammy, no chamois.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think,
less is more.
I think so. I think just like you just have to have a saddle that's wide enough for your sit bones.
Yeah.
You know, that's the proper width because for me, like I was riding a wider seat, but it wasn't quite wide enough. And so then I had pressure. But yeah, when you have the correct width, it's like perfect. And yeah, it's just comfortable. You feel like you're getting on like your townie, you know? The place where I have found that a chamois is pretty important for me is like more technical rocky trail riding. Cause unless, well, it depends on your saddle, but it's just, you're more likely to like hit yourself with your saddle.
Yeah.
And that's where I found that the pad is like protective.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I save it for shorter rides though. Yeah. Like 3 hours or less, I could do it.
Yeah.
But over that, I'm like, nothing.
I was doing a 70-mile endurance ride one time, and I think I had a Brook saddle on, like the leather one,
Dude,
and I hit right in my butthole.
Oh no.
The back, like
it's happened to a lot of people. I've heard
like,
this before.
It just popped me right in the butthole, and I just like went black. It like almost knocked me out. It was one of the most painful things I've ever experienced. I got nauseous, almost vomited right away.
Wow.
Like it was like
yeah,
horrible. I had to like get off the bike and like try not to vomit and chill out for a minute.
I mean, personal question, was it like a soft tissue pain or was it your tailbone? Was it your coccyx? Because
no, it was not my tailbone. It was like
just,
right
like,
in the
there.
butthole.
Oh fuck. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was
man.
like it was wild, and I don't think a chamois would have helped there. But
right. Yeah, chamois probably wouldn't have helped.
That was when I kind of started to, I think I went away from, and the Brooks, you know, it's like really, I mean, those things are like stiff.
Yeah, and it has like a little metal rivet on the front of it. That's like mine. I've been like riding something rocky and it's like, bah! And I'm like, God, it's like you just see stars and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, and
like,
I've had a bad injury. I had a top tube injury where I dropped down on my top tube once on my old road bike. So it was where it has like, but yeah, I like
yikes.
cut myself. I mean, I couldn't. I was like laying down for a week.
Oh,
Those injuries are like so real. I feel like everybody has them, you know, and it's just like, just part of it. It just sucks.
Well, now everybody knows about ours.
Now everybody knows about ours. I've had a dislocated tailbone for almost 3 years.
You were
that
saying
is horrible.
Yeah, you had some issues with that on Arizona Trail.
Oh, a lot. Yeah. And part of that was because I had such bad soft tissue chafing from my stupid chamois that I was like shifting around a whole bunch in my seat and I was scooting forward onto the nose of my saddle a little bit more to get off of the front. And then it was just, I already had that injury. And so it was just putting so much pressure on my tailbone.
Yeah.
3 years ago or so, I was putting my dropper down, going down a rocky trail, and the nose of my saddle hit the tip of my coccyx to the right. So it dislocated, knocked my tailbone to the side. And I guess that can happen. I guess like women who give birth have tailbone injuries. I guess it's not uncommon, but it's usually popped back. Mine was forward into the side. And I've had a pretty hard time getting proper care for it. Like providers don't want to touch you because they don't want to touch your butt, you know, which is stupid. I'm like, I'm the least embarrassed person in this room, you know, each time. I'm like, can somebody please just help me? And you know, but there are ways to adjust it where you can kind of just grab from the outside, you know, and just kind of grab and pull. And I've actually found really after years of periodic interneting, because you get frustrated when you don't find the answer. And then you're like, fine, I'll just deal with my pain for the next 4 months. And then you get some extreme pain, so you start really delving into it again.
Yeah.
And a couple months ago, I found this woman's account of how her massage therapist manually adjusted it kind of from the outside. You have to put your hand kind of like right in your butt, but you just kind of grab the tip of your tailbone. You can just pull it whichever way it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
I have a wonderful chiropractor. He kind of, when he adjusts me, he kind of is like, okay, it's still kind of to the right. He can a little bit adjust it from the outside, but he's told me which kind of way, you know, I need to move it. And I've been adjusting it once a day for the last like 4 weeks or so.
Yeah.
And a solid 30% of my pain is gone. It doesn't hurt right now. Normally after riding, like just even if I rode one day on Thursday, it would be like 2 weeks of just like intense swelling and pain.
Dang.
And we're like driving is bad. But yeah, so yeah, I don't know. It's like it's chronic injuries. You have to just like stay on it. But yeah, on the bike, it's like that's something too with having the right width saddle. I mean, it was becoming to the point where I thought I was going to have to quit riding.
Yeah.
And getting that wider Brooks made it to where I could ride, even though it was painful. I could physically ride because it was holding me off of it enough. Where the other one, the seat was too thin. You're like constantly just smashing down on it, you know? Yeah.
Now, did you get professionally measured or did you do like the DIY measuring?
I sat on the foil.
DIY.
Yeah, DIY.
The foil.
The foil, the naked foil smush,
right.
Which is really a funny thing to do.
Yeah, so let's describe
so
that
funny.
For people.
You put a piece of foil, like I put it on like my carpet, I guess, and
some kind of soft, semi-soft
so it's
surface.
got a little bit of a squish, and then you sit on it naked, where you know, and so that you can like impression, kind of where your sit bones are, and you can see divots. Right. You know, and everybody's bodies are different. So you might have to do it a few times, but then you can measure center to center and you can see the width of your tailbone or of your sit bones. And and then you can kind of tell roughly what seat you need.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I used a piece of cardboard.
Yeah.
It's just like a thicker piece of cardboard and then tinfoil and put it on the coffee table.
Yeah.
And then just sat on it.
It's
and
a funny
then you
feeling.
mark it, the centers, and then you can measure across.
Yep.
And you don't have to buy that fancy machine or you can go to the bike shop.
You can go to the
some
bike
bike
shop,
shops
they'll
have them.
measure you.
But
yeah,
I'm kind of like bike shop averse for some reason. But
I feel like when you're a
I'm
very
too independent.
proactive, independent, like
Yeah.
DIY type person, there's
Yeah.
so many ways to do it yourself. There is like a point where, like with Bike Fit, I feel really confident fitting myself now onto bikes, but I have had a professional fit in the past.
Yeah.
So I have like a really good baseline to go off of,
Yeah.
I feel like they're definitely like a professional bike fit could do like wonders for most people.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder. Yeah. I've always thought about that. I've never done it. I have some hip problems, chronic, that have been happening since 2019. I think it's overuse of the piriformis muscle, maybe.
Oh yeah, people with piriformis syndrome.
Yeah, piriformis syndrome.
Mhm.
Maybe it might be something pushing on the sciatic nerve just slightly on the left side. I thought by mixing in running and endurance running, it would kind of give some more sideways strength and movement.
Lateral movement.
Lateral movement. I went to PT for like a year and a half and it didn't get better.
Yeah,
I had all the
feel
x-rays
you.
done. I had I had an MRI done. Everybody said I was fine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this just hurts all the time. There's only one thing that helps and it's ice. That's it.
Man.
Icing makes it go away.
Yeah.
Stretching doesn't work. I've tried all the stretches. I was like diligent about trying to solve this problem, permanently. And now I'm just like, oh, well, it's better. It's probably at a 3 out of 10 now.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's going to stay there.
Yeah.
I can still ride how I want now. And, it's not limiting me. And I know how to,
it's hard when you can't quite figure out.
It's a mystery.
Yeah.
And it's just been there. So
I've never had hip pain cycling except twice. And it was when I had gotten a new saddle and my saddle height was higher than previously. And I was extending too far. And that gave me hip pain. And then when I lowered it, it just immediately went away.
Yeah.
But everybody's different.
So I messed around with that for years. Too high, too low.
Yeah.
The positioning forward and backwards. I thought it was like the way my feet were positioned in my cleats.
Yeah. I also switched to flats and that has solved like a lot of my problems, but it doesn't make you any faster. But it also, I mean, God, hike a bike's so easy, and I'm pretty bad at hike a bike. I don't know. I used to play soccer and I was like so graceful. And I feel like after I stopped playing soccer, and all my injuries kind of settled in, I'm just like awkward on my feet. And the hike a bike stuff is one of the harder parts for me. I don't mind it mentally, but physically it's just hard. And so, I switched over to flats and it's, I love it. It took me a little while to get used to because I rode clipped in for so long, and I like being clipped in on like, for like a bigger, more like maybe like a higher risk type trail. Like if you're going to be like off the ground a little bit or like dropping or something really rocky, it's nice to be clipped in so that you're just committed. But even that being said, I put flats on my trail bike and it's been long enough now that I like it. It's nice.
There was a dude on Pinions that was riding in like vans or something. He
and
came
single
in
speed.
like third or fourth or something.
Yeah, it's single speed too. Yeah, it was there when he came in. Yeah,
what was
I
his
was
name?
like, you're a
Do you
madman.
remember? I don't remember his name, but
it
was like vans, huh?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, he
like
came
slip-ons.
I know. I was taking pictures of everybody and I said it to Dana, and he was like, "Oh my God, my feet would die."
Yeah, So do you ride in like enduro shoes?
I ride in Specialized Rime flats.
Okay.
And I've tried a few. 510s don't work for me. I have wide feet, but I have short feet. Like I think it's just from all the running and soccer. They're kind of, it makes the front part of your foot spread.
Yeah.
Because I don't have like fat feet. They're just the ball of my foot's wide. And Specialized shoes are wide. And the sole has lasted through like 4 bikepacking races.
Really?
They're awesome. Yeah. I had their clip-ins and I personally didn't like them. The cleats sat exactly where I put my foot down, so I was slipping a lot. But the flats have just been amazing. Yeah, Peter rides in them too, and they're just so tough. We're hard on stuff, and they're so tough, and they're so comfortable.
Yeah,
room for your feet to swell a little bit,
The 510s, I would eat through those when I was riding flats.
I think when they got bought out by Adidas, I think that the sole changed and they've just trash now.
It was I ate through them before the Adidas.
Yeah.
Back when they were just 510, and then I got the Trail Cross shoes.
And
I put a hole in those.
Those are too narrow for me.
Yeah, they were comfortable, but I ate right through the left toe on the 300 on the Arizona Trail 300, like 150 miles in.
Yep.
like a hole in the bottom.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know. I should have bought shoes at Mount Lemmon, and I forgot. It's fucking stupid.
Yeah, you're not thinking about buying shoes in the little bikepacking race.
Well,
I
was on my way to Lemon, and I was like, I'm gonna go do this.
Yeah. Oh.
And then I ate, and then everything was fine.
You rode away with.
And then I rode away, and I got halfway down, and I was like, oh no.
Oh man.
Stupid. Yeah. Like, what am I thinking?
That's funny.
And then I just got rocks in them for the next day and a half.
Yeah.
And I finally ended up just like pulling off one of my sun legs and stuffing it down in the toe box.
Oh my God.
So it like was like herniating out of the bottom of the shoe,
Yeah.
But at least it wasn't allowing for rocks to come up in the shoe.
Oh, that's so funny.
Because I had like my gaiters and everything, and I was like, I'm not gonna get any rocks in my shoe. And I didn't think about the like, through the bottom of the sole of the shoe factor.
Yeah.
So
that's funny.
Yeah, it was dumb. That was just like a dumb, stupid
I think those shoes are good for just trail riding.
Yeah.
I know some people that have them and they really like them just for trail riding, but they're just not tough enough. Bikepacking, it takes things to like a new level of product testing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to do, I don't know, your Colorado Trail with flats. Or you think? I don't know. I'm not running a race I don't think. I think it's going to be like.
You're going to hike a lot?
Yeah. I mean, I hiked a lot on the Pinions.
Yeah.
There was stuff that I shouldn't have been hiking on this.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just walking this. This hill sucks.
I think the flats are so much better on your feet, which in turn is so much better on your hips and your back. Yeah. Which, I mean, and your Achilles. I don't know if you've ever had Achilles problems. I mean, those can be for so many reasons, but one of the reasons I had a pretty severe Achilles injury was from unclipping during Stagecoach a billion times. And so that was one of the main reasons. That, and then my hips with hike a bike, those were like, and the flats just, and you just don't get any knee problems. I mean, your seat is like vaguely in the right place. Your knee's not going to hurt. Because if your knee's hurting, you'll notice, if your seat's wrong, you'll notice that you'll start pedaling on your toe, and if your seat's too low, you'll start pedaling toward your heel. And then you're like, oh, I have this problem. But your body will automatically, cater to that. And so it fixes a lot of stuff. Yeah. But it just, if you're doing like a gravel race, obviously it's not efficient.
Right.
But if you're bikepacking, I don't know. Seems great.
What kind of pedals do you have?
I have the 1-Up composite plastic pedals.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I love them.
Work out pretty good.
They're great. Yeah. They're like, they're fine. I think they're not as sharp as some of the metal pedals. So you're not like shredding your shins and your calves.
Yeah. That was the part I particularly remember about running flats was just like constantly smashing your shins.
You get used to it. It's kind of like when you switch to full suspension and you pedal strike a bunch, and then you don't pedal strike as much once you get used to the bottom bracket height and the squish.
You get used to smashing your shins?
No.
Okay.
You get used to where the pedals are. Like that problem stops happening, you know, because you get used to what you should be doing.
Right. Your range. Yeah. While you're hiking. Yeah, that was always the problem was getting far enough away and trying to not but I would just destroy my shins.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was just like, like Thai UFC fighters, they just like kick like wood and stuff to like strengthen up their shins. I thought that was part of the gig.
You're at home kicking wood. Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm just like got the pedal. I'm just like, come on, Jess, we need to. I need to train for bikepacking. Hit me with this.
Oh my god.
It's like a pedal with a piece of wood on it.
Your neighbors are like looking and they're like, what are they doing over there? Just like hitting you with a board.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny. All right. Let's take a little break. I'm gonna get another coffee.
Yeah. So it's good.
After the Arizona Trail 300, because we kind of ping ponged back and forth a lot, and I was like witnessing her resupplying, and I was like, this is incredible how efficient she is at just like resupplying.
Yeah. I
was like, this is like a master class.
Yeah. It's
Can
awesome.
you teach lessons on this? I just couldn't believe how fast she was in and out of some of those places, you know? And so I asked her to be on the podcast, and she was like, let's have a call. I want to give you some pointers. And I was like, I don't know about that, number one. And then she was like, here's what we want to do. Here's what I want to do. I'm going to give you a list of 10 people I want you to have on. And then after you've had those people on, I will see what your vibe's like. And then maybe I'll come on.
Oh my God. I mean, dude, good for her boundaries.
Yeah. So
I think she's good at boundaries.
I have respect that she has the like go get 'em kind of attitude to like be like, I'm gonna go get this. I'm gonna, you know, you have to have that to get where she's gotten.
Yeah.
Like
Totally.
she goes out and gets what she wants.
Yeah.
However, and I thought really like at first I was like, no, fuck you. Like at first I was like, no. But that was like my like immediate reaction, like the devil on my shoulder was like having that. I was like, maybe her purpose is well founded, right?
Yeah.
But like I don't want to talk to those 10 people. I want to talk to her.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to be about some political thing or whatever. I just want to have a conversation with someone who I admire.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's tough when you go into something with somebody that you admire and then they tell you what to do through the way they're managing their boundaries. That's a tricky circle of all of it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's definitely like, it's one of those things where it's kind of like not for everybody. Right. And like, she would probably say, well, then don't interview me.
Right.
And
she kind of was, she had no skin in the game.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But, this is,
it's a tough way to say it though.
This is a free market though.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. Right.
Yeah.
So I had respect for her by having those boundaries.
Yeah.
At the same time, I was kind of like, well, I think you should start a podcast then.
Yeah.
Like, because if you want to, if you have these things you want to promote, then this is a free country, a free market.
It's not your job to do what her idea is of whose voices should be heard.
Right.
In what order.
Right.
Like over time, maybe you will end up interviewing those 10 people. You know what I mean?
If there's somebody that I want to talk to or I think's interesting, sure. But I'm not going to be on someone else's agenda.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. Everybody's agenda is different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, and I understand like that there are people that I think that maybe have underheard voices.
Yeah.
But I'm doing this for my own reasons, right?
Yeah.
And I invested all the money in this. Yeah. And
you are interviewing some people with underheard voices.
I think so.
It's not like,
But I feel like it got a little bit kind of instantly convoluted. And it was kind of sad because I was like, I think you could actually, if she was to come on, she's probably talking to people that she should get her message across to more people.
Yeah.
Like her demographic of who watches her content is probably very different than my demographic.
Because she wants a message out, right? This isn't like, her boundaries were not just because she was going to decide if she was going to open herself up to you. It was more so that she wanted a different agenda proposed than the one that she perceived you pursuing.
Right. Which I've only had like 2 or 3 podcasts, right? So there wasn't much of at that point.
Because I could understand if she was like, I don't know you and I don't know if I want to be on the thing because I don't really know what you're about. But instead it was like, you should do this instead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was kind of
tricky.
It was kind of both.
Kind of both.
Yeah. It was a little bit of both because it was so new and you know, she didn't see the range of maybe the people but when I'm not like thinking like my list of people that I want to have on. Number one, it's situational.
Totally. You're seeing what's upcoming.
Who I can get.
Yeah. Like I was coming in town and you're like, do you want to do this when you're in town?
Because this is an opportunity here, right?
Definitely.
Like otherwise I'm going to have to wait till I get to California or till we see each other at a different race. So like a lot of it's just like whoever's in town in whatever order, right?
Yeah.
And then I have a list of people that are kind of like the fill-ins that I'm going to ask. Like Jeff and Holly, you know, they're like on my list. I had to do it in a certain order because they're in Prescott. Yeah. But so it's really like not I don't have any agenda other than talking to people that interest me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whatever, I don't know. Like the offer's always open on the table, and I basically said to her, you know, I appreciate it, but I decline your terms.
Yeah.
You know, this is a free market. She has the right to say no.
Yeah, totally. I think you guys both exercised your whatever, and it's just it's
like almost a business transaction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the way I saw it. Yeah. So maybe someday she'll come on if she wants to. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. So, but at first it really hurt me because it felt like a unnecessary wall got put up.
I've watched, I won't name names, but I've watched that wall be put up before by people against people who were just really like admiring them. Mm-hmm. And I've watched that happen in person, and it was painful to watch it because I was like, man, that person was just trying to say that they really admired you.
Like that was a role model and it got crushed their spirit.
Just got smushed. Yeah. Because, you know, and you know, it's just, it sucks. And because you never know why somebody's got walls up. I mean, like, you know, I like I said, I had the scariest stalker. I've had a few scary things, and I have walls up, against certain things. And I'm sure that there are some times in my life when I've been like, no, these are my terms. No, and come across definitely as being like maybe overprotective of myself or different. But the reasons though, especially in that moment, are like, so you can't explain them all, in those times. And so it's like, I get it, but it's just like, it's too bad it doesn't line up in that moment.
Yeah.
Or that it comes across hurting somebody else who had good intentions.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh man, it's just like an unfair world,
Yeah.
That's why all those things are like that.
I think that I've learned how to be very diplomatic working at the university.
For sure.
For 10 years.
You've had to. Yeah.
I've gone through waves of being like fired up, bull in a china shop, forcing my way into things.
Yeah.
Creating chaos and then trying to rise from it on the other side of it. And like, I don't do that anymore. Yeah. It's way more diplomatic. I wait.
Not everything is personal.
No. Yeah. Definitely
most things aren't.
People.
Yeah.
They get all amped up about everything and you just like sleep it off and like come back the next day and like, things will work themselves out, right? They always seem to. And like, I don't know, what I've seen the last few years in bikepacking has been kind of like a poor execution of diplomacy.
Yeah.
From a lot of people.
Yeah. There's so many scenarios of what you're describing that
I
attribute to
because these are just normal people that aren't diplomatic. They haven't worked for 10 years in government. They haven't been through the meat grinder of like getting, I don't know. It's an art to be that way. Right. Yeah. And in business, it's an asset, know, and when you're dealing with like sponsors and media, this is a very interesting thing for me that's been on my radar, for many years. And especially through the rise of bikepacking during COVID was like the relationship between promoting yourself, being on social media, setting FKTs, and making it your livelihood. And this clash in those two things, right? Because like Leal, for example, has obligations to her sponsors, right? And she's made a successful life off of being able to do this. But it clashes directly with like all the fundamental principles of these races and like the ethos of these races.
Absolutely.
And I think Lachlan Morton has done maybe a more diplomatic job at finding the balance between those two.
Yeah.
His CTR run and his Tour Divide run, media on both of those, didn't claim anything. Didn't create a lot of drama. Commotion in the industry.
Yeah.
Right. People.
I think because from the get-go, he was like, I'm going to do this and that's okay. And I'm not going to claim anything.
Right. Yeah. And I think that was the key difference in his success and other people's lack of was transparency throughout the whole thing.
Yeah. It's communication and respect. And I think that communication and respect can go a long way.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. And that all kind of ties into diplomacy. And I think that ultimately it's going to be better for your sponsors.
Yeah.
If you approach things that way, it's not so polarizing, but in the short term, polarizing gets the clicks and makes the money.
Yeah.
Right. And we live in a world where controversy equals clicks.
Yeah. And it's encouraged.
Absolutely.
And it's encouraged to also take people who are smaller and less in the limelight, and if they're like disposable, they're treated as not people, they're just run them over for your goal. You know what I mean? And it is a weird world where people are definitely promoting controversy and self-focus, and they're losing sight of, I think, like greater picture and ethos, like you said.
Yeah.
But it is tricky, like in the other sense, because like you said, people are trying to make a living doing these things. I mean, we live in a capitalistic world. We have to unfortunately make money to live in America right now. Or in the world right now generally, and it's very hard. And you don't want to have people who, because there's the other side of it. You can maybe, if you come from like family money or something, you wouldn't have to do those things, and it might be harder if you're self-made. Yeah, it's a tricky balance, but I think that there are ways to do that balance without unnecessarily hurting other people and without losing sight of the ethos of the sport that you represent.
Totally. you're not going to make everybody happy, first of all, right?
Never.
But like doing the right thing and being transparent.
Yeah. Goes a lot further.
It will go further in the long run.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 There are definitely people in the community that I have no more respect for.
Yeah.
You know, and it's unfortunate because then there are other people who I didn't know anything about who have done things, you know, so positive with the sport that I'm just like blown away, you know? And I feel like it's like all those, I feel like especially, I would say, I hope most people, especially as they grow and get older and are more mature, they recognize, you know, more of the people that are doing really good things. And you can be doing good things and good things on the surface, you know what I mean? And on the underside, undercutting people. It's like it's hard when you get this snippet of an image of somebody on social media and you don't know them personally, or you don't know anything that's going on in the background. I mean, it's easy to manage your public perception, you know, through social media, because you can hide so much of like what's truly going on.
Yeah.
You can just curate it.
It's bullshit.
It is
Most
bullshit.
Of it's bullshit.
It's total bullshit. I mean,
that's all of the internet, right? All of Instagram and any social media. It's all curated. Yeah,
it's fully curated. Yeah. There's so many people who I've met and who have a certain internet personality, and then in person they're so different in good or bad ways. Mm-hmm. You know, either way. I'm not even thinking of anybody specifically. I'm thinking of like a dozen people, you know, who are like big personalities on Instagram or whatever. And you know, who I've met them in person, I'm like, oh my gosh, I did not think that person was gonna be so soft-spoken. Like, oh, they're so like gentle. Like I didn't think that from, you know, their public image, or, you know, or like, oh, I thought this person was going to be this like hyperactive, like nut job who's really annoying. And they're actually like a really like put together, calm, organized, like loving human being. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. It's nice to see those things, but it's this, it's a constant reminder that it's not always what you're seeing. Yeah. You know? Yeah.
Jess, my wife, she manages the Instagram.
Yeah.
I'll check it every once in a while when but I like went completely off of it.
Yeah.
I had this like up and down relationship with it because I'm an addict. I was
going to tag you one time sometime and I was like, oh, his Instagram's done. And I was like, oh, I wonder if he's okay. And then I went on your YouTube and I didn't see it. And I was like, and then right afterwards, this one popped up.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. He was,
Yeah, I was going through like I just wanted to go all in on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I just have such a hard time with the predatory nature of social media, especially now that all that information's public.
Yeah.
And we still are just like,
social media is like the internet version of like a pawn shop, a gun shop, and a liquor store next to each other. You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's like...
it's so bad.
Yeah.
And
it gets you right in the right targeted ways. It
Yep.
targets audiences in certain ways to pull the worst out of them. You know, I think, and with different, like you said, you know, if you're an addict to certain things.
Yeah. I'm predisposed for this.
Yeah. I mean, some people would maybe laugh if I said this, but I don't think I'm particularly an addict. I'm pretty good at moderation, and
some people would laugh.
I know some people would laugh because I'm like, I had a 960-mile bike race, but really, I think I'm pretty like level with that kind of stuff. I'm pretty good at like not, you know, I like my habits and stuff, but I don't know. So, but with social media, like I tend to enjoy social media. I get sucked into it and I look at it too much. And part of that is because we have one for our tattoo shop. I have my personal page with my art, which is how I promote myself. 100% of how I promote myself, you know? And then I have a personal one because at some point I was like, I want to post bike pictures and not lose followers. And so I made a personal one, which I don't post on that much. And then at some point I was on a like Silver State 508 team, and we had a page, you know, for like our team, and there was that one. And I swear there's another one, you know, and it's too many. So then I have to be on it for things.
Yeah.
And you just get Stagecoach, obviously.
Yeah.
So then there's so many. I let Stagecoach sit dormant for most of the year.
Yeah.
I know I can't handle it until season starts again.
Yeah. You're saturated.
Yeah.
With social media stuff.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
I get overwhelmed with like two things.
Yeah. And that's why, so I know I spend too much time on it, but I don't do the thing that a lot of people do, which I've heard about. People get on it and then they feel bad about themselves because they look at what everybody else is doing and they're like, oh, this person's doing these amazing things or whatever. And then they feel like they have less self-worth or that they're not doing as much with their life or whatever. You know, I hear people say things all the time, like with tattoos, they're like, oh, I saw this artist's work, you know, and I'm just going to quit now. you know, and instead I'm like, oh no, I saw their stuff and I was like, well, that's awesome. And I'll like save it because I'm like, maybe I want to look at it later and be inspired.
Yeah.
My brain works a little different. I'm really thankful for that. That's like not something that eats its way in a negative way. But I know that does it for a lot of people.
I think that's the norm.
I don't
Not
know.
your thing.
I think it's a norm that it hurts people.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Getting
I think
the
I'm the
keeping up with the
minority.
Joneses thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the majority is
Yeah.
people benchmarking themselves against what they see.
It's like buying lottery tickets or going to the liquor store every day. I mean, same type of thing. Like, you know, you can do it for fun because it's like a treat, or you can have it because it's like something that you're just constantly trying to like, you know, you get in this like, what do you call it? Like a pattern, negative pattern, you know?
Yeah. I mean, so it feels really good to like, you know, go on there and see a picture of all the finishers at Pinions and Pines and see yourself finishing, you know, or whatever. Like that feels really good. And then that's it. They got you locked in. Yeah. You know, at that point. And I think you're definitely in the minority that
I didn't even post that I was coming here.
Yeah.
Because I forgot.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, maybe I don't want people to see there's a tracker.
Right.
But then once I'm already out there, then I'll post. You know, I was like, hey, I'm doing Pinions and Pines and I got sick or whatever.
Right. So people can't.
But nobody
come
can
up with the plan.
get me at that point. You know, I'm a little paranoid. I do have bad, you know, things that go through my brain. But it's
What do you think's this next group, the young kid, Cruise Blue finished?
He was a cool kid.
Finished like late last night, I think.
Last night around 9:30 or 10.
Yeah, did you see him come in?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
How was he?
I was camped with Jeff and Holly, and then I drove back in to see him and Chaz finish, and then drove back out. But
how was he doing?
He was great. He was a funny kid. He was like a little spacey, but he came in and he immediately just gave it. So when I pulled up to park, there were all these children there, and I'm like, just
his
like
classmates?
loitering or something. And I was like, oh, also these are. They are children, but they're 15. Like they're not like young children, you know. And it's like I was like, God, I'm old.
They've all seen porn on the internet by now.
They've
for sure.
all seen porn on the internet. Like they know what swear words are, and like
15.
So and they were
the new 9 or something.
I know, and they were Anyway, when he came in, he like immediately gave a thank you speech to everybody about how much they had supported him, and he like was, you know, he was amazing. He was like, and when you guys popped up on the trail that one day, and and I mean. Somebody had taken his bike from him, so he was just like standing there talking, and I was like, "You're amazing! Like you're incredible!" And it was pretty funny. I also thought it was funny that he passed and just left Chaz like I don't know how far, few miles from the finish.
Oh, really?
I heard one of Cruz's friends. Well, he like passed him because he slowly caught him, and he just kept going basically. But I heard one of Cruz's friends say, do you think he knows he's close enough? Because he was looking at the tracker. And he's like, do you think he knows he's close enough to this other guy that he could overtake him? And like me and Lee and Jesse and Corey were there. Yeah. And we were kind of laughing and we were like, there's no way. They're probably riding together. Like at this part of the race, it's more fun to finish with somebody. You would never just like race somebody at the end.
Throw sand at their
for
face.
13th. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so then Cruz rolls in alone and we were like, oh my God. We're like, this is hilarious. Because he didn't do it. He wasn't being weird or anything. And Chaz said that he was really nice. He went by and he was like, hey. And Chaz was like, wait a minute, what's up? And he was just cruising faster. And Chaz didn't have the energy. And he was like, let's go. Go, kid. Go get him. Mm-hmm. You know, but I thought it was funny. Because I think if you or me, if we caught somebody in the last few miles, we'd probably roll in with them. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Unless you were trying to get a place.
Yeah.
But if you were
like Jesse and Jacob, like battling it to the bitter end.
That's true. Yeah, if you had something going on like that, like that's one thing. But if it's just like another person that you haven't really ridden with or know, and you're so close to I would just ride
this is
him.
First bikepacking race, right? He's learning. And,
he had no negative intention. And I think maybe their speed difference was so much that it made sense.
Yeah.
But it was still just funny.
I mean, he's like on the local cross country team, and I've seen him around town. I've run into him a couple times, which was so cool to see him show up at the start line.
He was so nice and like put together, and you could tell he was like, my brain is not braining. Like he was tired. He didn't have very much stuff on his bike.
Yeah, I wonder how much sleep he got in total. But
I wonder. I guess his dad told him he had to sleep a certain amount because some people were saying that at one point at his mileage, he was like, I have to stop now. And he just stopped. Wow. And he had said that I think his parent had told him that he needed to get a certain amount of sleep.
I think.
Which is good because he's young. Brain's still developing. You got to get sleep. Should not do sleep deprivation at that age.
Right.
Should not.
I mean, technically,
bad.
Male's frontal cortex is developing when they're up to 26 or
20s,
27.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, like late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Your brain's still developing for
Yeah.
males.
We should only be killing ourselves at 40s, right?
Yeah.
No, not when you're.
And that's
that
why
age.
young males sleep a lot, like sleep in and stay up late.
Oh, interesting.
Like males going through puberty.
Yeah.
Like I remember being that kid, being 13 and like wanting to stay up late and then and sleeping in really late into the day. There's actually like a bunch of science that supports that that's normal and that's okay.
Yeah.
Except for my dad would like wake me up and make me go do work
I know.
at like 6 o'clock in the morning.
My Army major mom, I will never forget this quote from my mom. And she said, when I was probably 16, she said, "You need to learn how to operate on less sleep."
Oh.
And that defined how I went about college and looking for a career, because I was like, I will never, ever work a job that forces me to not get enough sleep for my body. And I didn't. I'm proud and privileged that I did that.
Yeah.
But because sleep was really important to me, which is funny now that we do these things where we don't sleep,
Yeah.
I never thought I could do that because I've always needed sleep. But yeah, I think sleep is so important. I mean, sleep can just drive you mad. Sleep made my partner, lack of sleep for months made my partner have a panic attack. I mean, that was like the main factor,
Yeah.
It's like, but yeah, sleep is super important. But yeah, for the young people, I mean, there's just no question. I think they should, if anything, it's like giving them a hard time for sleeping in. It's like just trying in any possible way to get them enough like exercise and stimulation so that they can go to bed earlier is really, I think, where it should be more focused. Because I stayed up too late and stuff in high school, but it was kind of because I was just like, I think I just needed more stimulation, because you need a lot when you're at that age, and I was high drive. Like I played soccer since I was 5, and I was always playing on like 2 teams at a time, and I played in college. And yeah, it's just, it like wasn't enough. I probably needed to be doing like I guess I was in drumline, I was in band, but yeah, I needed more. And so then I would stay up because I wanted more like social stimulation and stuff. But and then I would need to sleep late. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. It's like having a kid is like or at least an active kid, which I think most kids are probably more active, should be more active than they are. Right? I mean, that's like an old person thing to say, but all kids should be more active. Humans should just be more active.
Yeah.
But it's like, people who adopt dogs that are really active dogs, and then they're just understimulated, and then they have all these other problems.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they mistrain and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just interesting to see this trend of really young people, like Stagecoach, the year I did it.
Eden and Jacob.
Yep.
Yeah, 13 and 18.
Yeah. The classic like picture of Eden in
the bar,
right?
in the Iron Door Bar. It's in Ocotillo Wells.
Okay, yeah. Ocotillo
and he's
Wells.
sitting in there, and he's just like with his braces.
Yeah,
and then behind him, there's just bras hanging from the ceiling and dollar bills everywhere. And I saw the picture. It went up on the Iron Door Bar Instagram, and I was like, I am not his parent. This is not my deal. I was like, that is
he signed a waiver. His parents signed a waiver.
Somebody signed a waiver. I was like, not my problem.
It was like 10 o'clock at night too.
Yeah.
And this is like biker bar.
Yep.
Like,
yeah.
Like I was like nervous about going in there.
Every time I go in there, everybody looks at me. There's always somebody nice that talks to me a bunch, but it's like every time I go in there, everybody's like,
hey, there's some more fellers with spandex on coming in here.
Totally. The owner's a mountain biker, and is or was, but he's
baby.
Oh,
sounds like a fake baby.
Sounded like a fake baby.
I think that's a baby doll.
That is. That's so funny.
Get all kinds of fun things in the tent.
Yeah.
At least we don't have flybys today.
Oh yeah.
Like we had, flyby. There's all kinds of interesting people that'll fly by when you're in a public place.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like
I
had to make sure, like the Kurt one, I was like, we're gonna go
to
we were near his place, like in a private area.
Oh okay.
So yeah,
where does he live?
In Prescott.
Oh,
his
okay.
home
I didn't
base.
know that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, but I was like really nervous to do it inside I had a very short amount of time with Kurt, and I was like, I want to maximize this time that I have.
Yeah.
And I was going to do it in a park because that's usually like the easiest place to set this up. But you get some flybys.
That's funny.
But most people can't even hear what we just heard on these
really
mics.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They'll listen back and be like, So anyway, So Eden in the bar, biker bar.
Biker bar.
That was
the owner's awesome.
All-time classic.
That is a classic. Photo. Yes, I will never forget that.
And Ocotillo Wells was also like kind of an interesting place.
It's an interesting place.
Yeah.
Some desert people.
It was more like
it's rough desert people.
I like lean more towards that though.
Mm-hmm. That's what you're
Then I do like the French people in Iceland. Like I got in trouble in Iceland for double dipping on some jam or something.
I'm so bad at all of the like food politeness stuff. And like I was raised by like a single military mom, and like we never sat at a table or anything like that. And I don't regret any of that, and I don't hold any of that against her. I think it's wonderful. She taught us to be independent, practical people.
Yeah.
We could take care of ourselves. And and I go places, and I'm just it's funny because I was having this conversation with somebody recently. I'm like pretty uncomfortable in like really upscale places.
Absolutely.
I'm really uncomfortable. I am like, I was raised in a very like blue collar working military family, and I just don't, and I work a job that's like pretty rough around the edges in a lot of ways. Not where I'm at now, but through the years it has been. And and then bike people with dirt bags, I'm just like comfortable dirt bags.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'd call myself one. Well, I haven't showered since Thursday until, thank you for letting me use your shower. It is Sunday.
I thought I was a dirtbag until Lindsay Knoll started telling stories.
Oh yeah. No, those are dirt bags. Lindsay's awesome. But like, there are people that definitely, I think that most of the public, like in our country would probably consider us dirt bags, but that's because they don't really know. They don't know the Lindsay Knowles or like the people that have been like nomadic and doing like outdoors adventure type or medical work or whatever for huge portions of their life, like and it's funny because those people are actually doing really amazing things. But just dirtbags. Yeah. There's a scale to it all. Yeah.
But what was I gonna say about that? I had something else. The backcountry bidet, I think that was it. No.
Ooh, backcountry bidet.
I don't remember what it was.
Bidets are great. How much butt stuff can we talk about on this thing?
This is the most butt mentions episode,
Welcome to the
I
Endurance
think.
Studio and Butt Stuff Forum.
So you mentioned e-bikes earlier, taking using them to haul cargo and stuff out for the humanitarian work, right? Yeah. Very, very good use of an e-bike, right? Totally. Like that makes sense to me, right? Like commuting, we have an e-bike that we used to deliver on campus.
We used to have a commuter.
For like business cards and stuff. When we do small orders, name tags and stuff, we do it around campus, right? And I've kind of had this like, e-bikes have kind of come and gone. I've heard that there's a lot more usage in California on like single track trail.
Everybody I know has e-bikes.
Really?
A lot of people. Okay, I think because we don't have as many rules with no e-bikes here or there.
Okay.
I think I honestly didn't know that was much of a thing, and then I found out that like Sedona is no e-bikes.
Right.
I guess on like all the trails.
That's what it's marked as, but no one follows it.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's like completely like.
Oh, I didn't know that. I have some friends from San Diego who were traveling, and they were like, "Oh, we didn't realize you couldn't do e-bikes here," so they didn't do it, because they're just being polite because they're travelers and traveling through. We have a lot of people using e-bikes. I think honestly, like our biggest issue in California, from what I can tell, is that people use the throttle only e-bikes, and I think I think a lot of people have a hard time telling the difference. They lump all e-bikes into one circuit, but there's so many different kinds. And but on the trails specifically, as it relates to that, there's the kinds, I forget what they're called, but they have basically throttle ones. They're like little mini like trials dirt bike looking things, and those are the ones that fuck everything up. The ones that are not a throttle and they're pedal assist are really like there's nothing wrong with them. You might get somebody who's an asshole who like you end up I've ridden on a trail once where I leapfrogged with these two guys because they were passing me on the climbs, and then I would pass them on every descent because they weren't great descenders, and we were riding kind of like a cross country trail. Where were we? We were in Cortez, Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah, we were in Cortez at Phil's World.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just like rambly, you're not like, there's not like a big climate. So we were just like this, and it was annoying, you know what I mean? But aside from that, like those things, I mean, they don't really mess the trails up or anything like that. But the ones that are the throttle only go so fast and they tear everything up, and they're dangerous. They hit people and they hit pedestrians, and those they are disallowed on trails entirely. But it's hard to police that,
Yeah, absolutely. There's only 2 enforcement officers in the Forest Service for all of Sedona, and they've like deprioritized enforcement because it's not really an issue.
With regular e-bikes, they're fine.
Yeah, the level 1 and 2, the pedal assist, and I think you're talking like level 3 and 4. Are the class 3 and 4. Are the throttle, and then they're governed. A certain amount under 35 maybe miles per hour and over.
We had one of those, and that was our commuter.
Yeah,
we didn't ride on trails.
So there's different ways to class them, but I don't think it's, I mean, it doesn't, even though everybody rides them in Sedona, I had to do some soul searching and think like, am I just being like pissed off about this, or is it actually like causing a problem? You know, am I just like a grumbly old,
I don't know,
analog mountain biker, as they say?
I personally, I mean, shit, I don't own any bike. Because that's not how I spend my money, I guess. They're also expensive, you know what I mean? So like, I'd rather spend my money on like time off to pedal, you know?
Yeah.
But you know, it's like my shop partner Angel, he doesn't have one now, he just sold it, but he had an e-bike while his daughter was a baby because he didn't have any time to get out. And he could go and he could do a couple laps of like a really technical trail that has like a big climb up, and he could do a few laps down, whereas he would only have time to just maybe race and do like one, you know, while his daughter was taking a nap or something. And so that was like really good use of it.
Yeah.
And I met like an older guy on a trail once, and he was like, this is like the only way I can really do it, but now I can still get out here. And I think those are really good reasons. And then also people race on them, and like, you know, it's just like, our friend Michaela Ghetto, she was like, yeah, it's just a different class of a race. You know, it's just like a different category.
Right.
You know, so if you look at it that way, but I don't think that the ones that are pedal assist are causing any problems. I definitely at first was grumpy because my first experiences with them were people doing the dumb leapfrogging stuff and being really annoying, or not knowing any of the trail etiquette because they're just like privileged enough to have bought a thing, and then they can go out there and just like hammer everything that we like physically work more for, and then like haven't spent as much time learning how to be polite on the trail.
Right.
So I did experience that too. But as time has progressed, I think it's almost kind of coincided with the bike boom after COVID, and it's settled, I think.
For sure.
A lot. And, you know, I think there's like, you see way less assholes. Like now I've seen, sometimes now I don't even notice if they're on an e-bike or not. Maybe because they catch me on a big climb really fast. And I'm like, oh, okay. But then it doesn't matter anymore because I think a lot of people have them. But yeah, the throttle only ones are like in my opinion, like the problem.
Yeah. It's going to take someone dying or getting hurt.
Yeah.
It's going to take a big issue to start to regulate that stuff.
Yeah.
Like the government's not going to mess with it until it's a squeaky wheel.
Totally.
Back on your point about like the trail damage and the fitness. Well, I wanted to bring up the fitness part of it. So the trail damage, there's been a few studies. They've been very small scale, but they pretty much,
they've negated that out.
They're like, yeah, it's not causing any problems. Yeah. Now that's the e-mountain bikes, or the pedal assist mountain bikes.
And the horses.
Yeah, the horses are doing more damage. So that's, they're pretty much like not worried about that part.
Yeah.
They did a study where they compared health benefits of mountain bikes versus e-mountain bikes, and it was an interesting data. It was like stimulating enough to get people into certain like cardiovascular zones that they would see benefits from it.
For sure.
So they were getting like 70 to 80% of the cardiovascular benefit of
because you just go faster.
Yeah. And they're still getting everything moving. And so I was kind of ultimately like, if it gets people out and it makes people healthier and it lowers the overall healthcare costs with time or whatever, is this really something I'm going to gripe about?
Yeah. It's an interesting thing too, in that it's taken the place of a lot of different parts of the bike industry, and a lot of different companies have had to like go that direction to be profitable still, which is another interesting corner of it. I'm like, I think at first I was annoyed, you know, same grumpy. I like to pedal, whatever, you know? But like, and then I'm like, you know what? It's not about me. And
wasn't that the hikers with mountain bikers though?
Yeah, same thing.
Or runners?
Because it's just like a speed thing, right? It's just something that's a little faster than you on the trail, and it's like, you know, if the person isn't polite, then it's a problem. Yeah. I think I've never ridden an e-mountain bike until this spring. We did a little video for our shop, and Michaela got us some e-bikes from YT because we wanted to go ride Palm Canyon Epic, which is an incredible trail near us. Leaves out kind of near Idlewild and drops down to the Palm Springs side, and you lose like 7,000 feet, but you gain 3,000 still. So it's still pedally, but it's just like a fun trail. Yeah. And we wanted to do some filming, and so we wanted to be able to session some of, you know, the chunkier, cooler looking parts of it. And it's a long day. I mean, if you hammer it on an e-bike, you can do it in like 2.5 or 3 hours, but that is like hammering. And then if you ride it on a regular bike, you're talking easily 4.5 to 6 hours of a day, you know, to get down. So like, you know, we don't want to be absolutely shattered while we're filming. So Michaela hooked us up with e-bikes from YT. And so I'd never ridden one. And so I had to kind of figure it out. And the trickiest part for me was the climbing, because there's this assist, and it works with like, I think the faster your cadence is, the more it assists. So you have to think about that with like what gear you're in. Cause at first I was like, oh, maybe if I'm a harder gear, it helps me more, but it's the faster you pedal.
Right.
So if you want it, you can slower pedal up a hill and it will not help you as much. And so that was tricky to get used to, because you would wheelie up some technical stuff. You're just like, like flying up it, you know? Or you can just pedal slowly and you're just riding fairly normal, but it helps a lot. It was really fun.
Yeah.
It was so fun. And it was cool to go down some of the parts of that trail that I really love, and to expend, 50% of the effort to ride back up to do it again. And that was pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah.
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 You think there's ever going to be bikepacking bikepacking races?
I hope not.
Yeah. Well, how's that kind of clash? Talk about old school ethos.
Oh man. I mean, it would just be, I don't think that there would be.
There's got to be somebody that's going to show up to a bikepacking race with an e-bike.
Yeah. I mean, we have it written on our rules. No e-bikes. And
right.
It seemed silly when I wrote it, but I'm like, God, somebody's going to do it. And because if I don't write it, somebody will do it. Right.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, I feel like e-bike bikepacking, awesome idea. I think that's a great idea, especially for people who are like, have any kind of reason that regular bikepacking would be preventative for them. There's
it's
so
like
many reasons that could.
So hard.
Bikepacking's so hard. I mean, but like, if somebody who wanted to have that as their sort of recreation and an e-bike made it possible,
yeah,
I think that would be incredible. But racing in like a bikepacking race, I think it would be really sad to see it in the same race as others on non-e-bikes rolling out. I think it would bum everybody out. Yeah. I don't know how it would not bum out the people on the e-bikes who would be hopefully off the front.
Right.
Yeah. But there is a battery recharging situation, so there's that.
Right.
But I still just think that it would be really convoluted to have that mixed into the same event.
Right. Yeah. Right. So do an ITT, or don't even sign up and just do the course.
Yeah. If you had an ITT, or you had a race that was just like e-bikes only.
Yeah.
But then it's tricky, because like cycling is privileged in that like it takes money to do it. It doesn't have to be as expensive as most people make it.
Right.
Truly. I rode my bike across the country, and I thought that I was like, spending so much money, because I think I paid maybe like $1,100 in a Soma double cross that I had kind of built up with things that I liked. I remember being like, oh, I got a Chris King headset, and
yeah, I
mean, I did not have very nice stuff, but it was just like, it was very moderate stuff, but I thought that was like killer, and that it just really doesn't have to be that.
No,
But
like
if you do with e-bikes, then you're entering a whole new realm of privilege, because your bike is $10,000.
Yeah.
It's like,
I think you could do bikepacking on the cheap, knowing what I know now.
Yeah.
You could buy used gear.
Yep.
Like a lot of the walls for people is I don't have the tent, I don't have the sleeping bag, but you literally can get just like the sole bivvy for like $40. You can get a used sleeping bag. Like, I buy most of my gear used.
How it's like, how comfortable are you with being uncomfortable?
Yeah.
If you don't have the lightest stuff, I mean, I rode from Oregon to San Diego. That was the first bike tour I did, and I had a 90s Cannondale road bike that I bought for $200. And the only money I had to put into it, I had very little money, and the only money I put into it, I got a slightly smaller inner chainring for the front, and a slightly bigger rear cassette. And this is a long time ago, so we're talking like my differences were like, it was a couple of teeth in either direction. It wasn't like a 50. I probably had like a 32 on the back. And yeah, I mean, everything I had was handed down. I needed a handlebar bag, so I looked on Craigslist and I got a used, like old school touring, probably like an 80s touring bag from some older dude that lived up the coast.
Yeah.
I rode my bike 15 miles up to go get it and back before work one day. I mean, there's just ways to do it. It's just, how motivated are you? It's like, if you don't have money, you do have to have more ingenuity and more motivation to do it. Like, I've been there.
Totally.
It's harder. The people around me, I mean, I had people tell me I couldn't do it. I had so many people tell me I couldn't do that tour.
Really?
They're like, you can't do it on that gearing. Like, once you put like stuff on that bike, and I'm like, man, I'm strong. I don't have a car.
Yeah.
I'm motivated. I'm strong. I'm broke. And I'm also like, I can do almost anything I want to do. So
you just gave me a reason.
Physically, I'm like, no, like I'll fuck you up. And I was like, yeah, there's just so many ways to do it, that. So then getting into that extreme other side of it, which is like e-bike pack racing.
Yeah, right.
It's like kind of painful to me because I'm just like, oh, it's making it so unattainable for people. But it is a category.
Yeah. Well, so I just was thinking like, it's this course this year was a combination of other years. It was pieces we put together, and it was kind of, we designed it in a way that was like, this is one of the best tours of everything that Northern Arizona has to offer, right? With exception to like the Grand Canyon area.
Yeah.
This is it. Like you get everything. You get Sedona, you get Cottonwood, you get the desert, you get the Rim Road is one of my favorite. Like, I've always wanted to see a UFO there, and I've never gotten to see a UFO.
I listened to so many like weird podcasts and stuff leading up to it, and then I didn't get to ride it.
Yeah. Well, it'll be on another one because it's such an iconic road, and this year it was graded. They're
nice.
getting it ready to. They're getting ready to pave it, I think.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Damn. So like it was like
really nice,
awesome riding compared to last time. Cool. It was all washboarded out. And on the 500, I think it was on both maybe last year. But anyway, so like I want people to experience this. I was like excited for people when we were talking about what was coming up next. I was like, oh, wait till you get into this, or wait till you get into that. You're gonna love it so much. And if somebody did an ITT or whatever, they just went out and got an e-bike and did the route. And because it's very difficult physically to do, even if you split it up over 5 or 6 days. It takes that's why only 60 people show up to these things, right?
And not a lot of riders. I mean, like the people that sign up for these things are they're all different kinds of riders, right? Like, I mean, it's like Jesse who won is like a self-described like roadie,
Yeah.
Like he said that the other day. He's like, I'm a roadie.
Yeah, I know you're not, buddy.
He's a great mountain biker.
Sorry, Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse, you're a great mountain biker. But that's what I was say. Like, very few people are in that category of like incredible endurance athletes and great mountain bikers, right? Because like most of us have a strength and then one point that's a little bit more of a weakness. Like
sure.
For me, it's endurance speed. I mean, a gravel road, for when I fall asleep, I don't like riding gravel. I know everybody loves gravel.
I don't either. I'm with you on that.
It kills me. I fall asleep. I'm so bored. I love the views and stuff, but I would rather have like, a friend next to me talking and looking at it and enjoying it and touring it, and like racing on gravel makes me want to like gouge my eyes out. Like I hate it. And so I love all the single track, and I don't even mind the hike-a-bike.
Yeah.
Utah Mixed Epic broke me. Thanks, Tim. I don't mind the hiking. I just don't, because it's like, it's different. It's like variable. And,
it's engaging.
Yeah. And so like when
it keeps you awake, hike-a-bike.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like all the people that sign up for these things all have different strengths and weaknesses. So then it's like you said, to complete the whole course, it's incredibly difficult for everybody for different reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, it's because I get dusted on all the all the easy stuff. I'm just not fast enough or engaged enough to care to push myself harder. But then on single track, I'll push harder on the single track because I enjoy it.
For sure. Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I was smoking people on the first day. Yeah. And then it all caught up to me.
I felt great going down Hart Trail.
Ah, yeah, it was amazing.
I think I was the last person up the first climb.
Oh, really?
I mean, or close to it. I was for sure way in the back.
Yeah.
I don't know where I was. I didn't look. I didn't want to look.
Yeah.
But then on Hart Trail, I think I passed like 12 people, and I was like, they were easily 10 to 20 minutes ahead of me going up the hill. So it's like, it felt good. It was like, that's my only win from this year. Yeah. I had so much fun going. I rode down it with this guy, Tom, who I guess we met last year at this, and we were just cruising down that trail. It was really fun. It's nice when you kind of link up with people for different parts of it,
Yeah.
Like Perry on Mingus 2 years ago. That was fun. It's like, we're on a trail ride. And then I was like, oh, no, we're not. Now we're dying again.
Black Canyon Trail, right?
Yep.
Wasn't
Mingus
that what?
Black Canyon.
Yeah, the not popular Black Canyon Trail, because there's a very popular one.
Correct, the Mingus one. Yeah. I've never ridden the popular one. I want to.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Is it?
It's just like really good in the winter time. But that one was like very dangerous.
Yes,
and there was
I walked the top part
exposure. Yeah,
because I hadn't slept. It was like 2 a.m. I think when I was at the top.
I refused to go. I slept up top because I refused to go down in the dark.
Yeah,
I was like, nah.
Damn,
not gonna happen.
I just walked the top half, and then Perry caught me about halfway down, and that was about where it becomes rideable.
Yeah,
and that's when we just like cruised together.
Yeah,
and it was like kind of pre-dawn then.
Yeah, then and then cruising down into.
We turned our lights on, I
down
think,
into town
at the bottom. There's like a gate kind of toward the bottom. So we were without lights that whole way, or with lights on the whole way. Which is like a little sketchy, but it was really fun.
What kind of a light do you have?
I have like a Phoenix. It was funny. Yesterday, I was camping with Jeff and Holly, and they're like, which Phoenix light do you have? And I was like, the PD36R. And I'm like, how do I remember that number? I don't know when I bought that thing, but that's like, I think it's that one.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I use that on the handlebars, and it was for my head, but it's a little heavy for my head. My neck hurts and so I got some cheapy Amazon knockoff similar type of light with a rechargeable battery in it, and it's just smaller and lighter, and I use that on my head. Okay. And I only use it for single track. I use the front light if I'm on gravel and stuff.
Yeah.
And just save this one for single track. But Jeff was showing me like I think it's a Phoenix, more of a headlamp.
He was hyped on that.
I think
he was showing me at the start.
Has it or something.
Yeah. He was like, "Have you seen my headlamp?"
Yeah, I know. He showed it to me at
you're
camp.
Excited about this headlamp.
He's gonna bring it up at when you guys interview. I bet.
I hope so.
Yeah, ask him to bring his lights.
I want to go deep into the headlamp.
He showed me all the lights at camp last night. But yeah, but the headlamp's pretty awesome though.
I'm pretty sure last year he did the same thing about a different light.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's like a ritual now.
I love Jeff. He's like hyped.
Yeah, at the rolling start or the neutral start, he's got to talk to me about lighting every year.
That's awesome.
That's another rule.
God, man. That's great.
Yeah, I asked him what his spirit animal was, and I was almost sure he was going to say a hummingbird, but nope, it was an owl. So
an owl?
Yeah. He had a giant owl tattooed on his arm.
Oh, he does. I'm gonna tattoo the other part of his arm, I guess, in July.
Oh, really?
They're gonna come to San Diego, yeah.
Yeah. He's so great. I met him so early on the Coco 250. Do you know that route?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, it was kind of like Pinions 1.0.
Yeah.
Really? It was I think Scott Morris designed the route.
Yeah.
And it was on the Arizona Endurance Series, and it was my first bikepacking trip. And we started at this little place called Mike and Rhonda's. It's a breakfast, like a cheap, lots of volume breakfast restaurant. And I was so green, and I was like using my phone to navigate. I didn't have a GPS or anything. And we all start there at Mike and Rhonda's, and he's sitting there in his full kit, like race moded out. And I'm like, hi bikepackers. I don't know what I'm doing. And I was panicking because I was,
and then Jeff probably came over and like gave you a hard time about something.
He was in the zone because he was going for the FKT on it.
Oh yeah.
He was like serious face. Right. Yeah. And I was like, hi, I'm doing this ride with you guys. And I'd screwed up and not plugged my phone in or something the night before, so I was having like a mini panic attack about not having enough battery to get through, and he was just like not interested. He was in race mode, and then he left a little early, and he ended up getting caught on Perkinsville Road. They were having a rally car race, and they had the whole road shut down, and it killed his FKT attempt basically. And I think that was the last time he did it. I think that was kind of the it for him.
Yeah.
But ironically, that was the same one that got me stopped on the Verde Valley Randonnée 2 years ago when I was trying to achieve my goals, not an FKT on that.
Yeah.
Same stupid race where they shut down the whole road. So we should really get this under control.
Yeah, but anyway, figure out when it is. Yeah.
Anyway, so Jeff, he was like a legend to me at the time. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I looked him up and I'm like, holy shit, this guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's got El Frico on the side of his van. You know what I mean? Like, who is this guy? He's like a legend. And then however many years later, like, it's just such a nice guy.
There's such characters.
And then Holly kind of, when Holly,
there's such a great duo.
Yeah.
Yeah. The two of them are amazing.
Frico and Turbo.
Yeah. Frico and Turbo. Yeah. I met them at Pinions and Pines 2 years ago because we're similarly paced. And so we would leapfrog a lot. And then we ended up riding together for several hours a couple times. And so, just became friends. And yeah, we rode together that section of the AZT leading up to Double Springs Campground.
Yes.
That's kind of techie. It's kind of rocky. And like, it was fun because Jeff, I don't know how many times he's ridden it, but he remembers, every rock. And he'd be like, okay, around the corner, there's going to be like a drop and you can roll around the right side of it. But the next one, you're probably going to want to walk that one. And we're like, okay. And Holly's like, okay. So it was like him, Holly, and me. And in order, and he was just riding it all, single speed. So he'd pull a little ahead of us on like the climbier stuff because it was, he's single speed. So he's pushing a little harder.
Yeah.
And Holly and I would just cruise through and ride it. And it was great. We had like a guided tour, and it was between like 10 p.m. or so, and 1 in the morning is when we rode that.
Yeah.
And it was nice because we had 3 people's lights. We had Jeff in the front, full confidence, and we had, with 3 people to deal with the gates.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
He's
awesome.
giving you like the play-by-play.
Tour.
Like
It was it was rad.
Like the Arizona Trail rock and turn play-by-play.
Yes.
It's like it's got to be like a video game in his head that he's played 100 times.
It's
you know
gotta
what I
be.
mean? 1,000 times.
I know. Yeah, it's like we all have like some sort of spectrum brain, I'm sure, but like everybody's got certain skills, and that's his. He's got this exact photographic memory of the Arizona Trail.
Yeah. I mean, there's some stuff that just has deleted from my memory. There's sections.
Yeah.
Stagecoach specifically because that was the first time with the sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
Where there was like a day that I just don't remember.
Yeah.
And I've talked about this a few times, but I went back and watched my GoPro footage because I videoed the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't remember any of certain parts of that.
Wow.
It was like a different person doing it. It was
That's
so
funny.
weird. Now that freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, so after Stagecoach, there was, Cocodona for my wife, and then Pinions and Pines 500, and then Iceland all after that. And they were all like compressed into 3 months.
Yep.
And that was just like,
Kind of blurred together.
hit the brakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No CTR this year.
Yeah.
I'll do the AZT 300 in October.
Yeah.
And then I'm taking a break.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm taking a break.
yeah. Cause this is it accelerated too much, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I don't know. You feel like that right after a race? I always feel like that. 3/4 of the way through this one, I was like, nah, I'm not. I don't know. I don't know what I'm fucking doing. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And then I slept for like 4 hours, and I was like,
yeah. It's all circumstantial.
Today I'm going home.
It's all circumstantial. I mean, even during like, I did Stagecoach probably for like the, I don't know, like 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. It's like 5th time, I guess, doing like the complete Stagecoach.
Yeah.
A month ago. And the weather was really bad. And, at one point, my partner Peter was like, you could just come home. Like, you don't have anything to prove or whatever. And I was like, well, I'm actually like having a good time because it's like you're pushing yourself, but like I've done it harder, and faster. So I was like, well, if I'm going to finish on Monday evening, like this is actually kind of okay. Like I can just kind of enjoy it and have fun. And then it was like, even though it was so hard, it was, it was so manageable, I think, because for one, it wasn't hot. I mean, it was raining the whole time, but yeah, you get like whatever the circumstances are really feed into how you feel about what your next like few months goals are.
Yeah.
And after doing that, I was like, bikepacking's fun and easy. The Death Valley trip made me feel like that again.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's fun and easy. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Not
I did
easy,
a touring trip with my friends, a couple of close friends, and we did a local route. Kurt made it, Craters and Cinder Cones.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, we planned the stops.
Yeah.
And we knew how far we were going to go every day, and we got in really early to camp, and it was like,
it's so fun. It's rejuvenating.
This is racing gets so like, or pushing yourself again, like benchmarking yourself gets exhausting. It's fun at first, but then it's like, ugh.
It does. There gets to a point where I'm sure
stressful.
I'm sure like all of the people, well, many of the people who are like way more experienced, years and years and years bike pack racers, than us are, I'm sure have had those moments too, where they retreat for a while and just tour and have fun, and like take a break from it and stuff. And it's like everybody probably goes through really similar phases, I guess. Yeah, it's like it all kind of has its time and place. I mean, I definitely, because I mean, like racing's fun, and because you make friends at all of them. So then like I was so looking forward. Dana took a video, I think, when you came in, and I was looking at all the people in that video. I was like, oh man, these are so many people that I like. Yeah. In this one this
corridor of badassness.
Yeah, just like all just like lounging on the concrete outside this bike shop with like, this like with the sandwiches from the,
yeah. Like
yeah.
Like it was like a corridor of legends.
It was awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
Like just all these people that 5 years ago when I first met El Frico, and I had no idea that like this community was going to be this group of people, right?
Like everybody there who was on that stoop has done just like really incredible things.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
I honestly was like, how do I get every one of these people on the podcast like right now?
Yeah.
Because I want to talk to every, like, you're
all dirty. You pull the tent up. You're like, all right, we're all here.
I mean, I was like wrecked mentally. I got home and I just like fell apart. But I wanted to, it's like, this is it right here. Yeah. So yeah, it's just so cool.
It's a cool feeling.
Yeah. And you don't get that with ITTs. ITTs have their own kind of specialness, I think.
Yeah.
Like if you're mentally needing it, kind of.
Yeah.
Because I did ITTs for a while before Grand Departs because I was just like nervous about the social aspect of it.
For sure. Yeah. And you also don't get it so much with like touring. That, you know, that thing that Chaz and Alvin put together for Death Valley was like a little different because everybody they reached out to were like really kind of like prestigious bike pack racer people or organizers. Yeah. And so it was like people with so much background in different ways, you know? And I remember thinking when we all like rolled up together, I was like, man, this is like a wild crew of 8 people to tour together. You know what I mean? To tour, like this is cool. It was the same kind of feeling, you know. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know, that was a really like cool thing to be part of.
Get a little starstruck.
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome, maybe a little bit.
I know,
because you're one of those people, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, and I don't always feel that way, and it's different too because like, you know, I'm not like a super fast person. Like I've had a couple fast finishing times at a couple races. I've also been DFL, and I've also just come in like in the middle. You know, I'm all over depending on how my body wants to feel, how much time I've had to train. Because, you know, it's like I have a real job and a life and all these other things that I can't have everything focused on that. And
DFL is dead fucking last.
Dead fucking last.
Just need to clarify.
Utah Mixed Epic 2021.
But you finished.
Dead fucking last. But only 12 of us finished.
Yeah.
And it was really goddamn hard. So I feel like I was so proud to finish. Yeah. Like I felt, and also there were like 4 people that finished like just the day ahead of me. I got caught kind of behind a storm, and it was just, I couldn't make up the difference. So I slept in a pit toilet for 8 hours.
Oh boy.
Because I was entering like a flood zone. And, and I was entering it was a very red area. It was in Moab, and where was it called? Onion Creek? I think it's very red. People Jeep it a lot.
Okay.
But there were like, I don't know, 17 creek crossings. It's all red water, you know, but it was raining. And even as you go into it, there's a sign that's like, do not enter when raining, you know, floods. And I was like, either I could have kept riding through and finished in the middle of the night. I mean, and for what? 12 days in, who cares? Or I could sleep dry in this clean pit toilet.
Yeah.
And wait it out.
Yeah.
So I waited it out. You know, and I rolled out as it was still sprinkling, and it finished, and I rode through all of it, and it dries, so that was nice, and it was beautiful. It was like this crisp air after the rain, you know, and yeah, chain was like screaming all the water crossings.
Yeah.
But
good pit toilet decision. I'd probably, I don't know, I'm pit toilet averse, but
are you? This one I've only done 2, and they were really
if it's
clean.
a safety scenario.
This was a safety scenario.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not gonna pull an Ezra.
I didn't have a good shelter system for that. I went as light as I could. And it was not a good idea, but it worked out.
Yeah. Cool. Let's do rapid fire.
Sure. Yeah, sounds good.
We might have to double up on some of these since you were on the mini rapid fire before Pinions.
Okay.
But okay. What's your favorite in-race food?
Pickles. It's definitely pickles. I like pizza too. Ooh, ice cream. God, I'm a food person. I know you are too.
Yeah.
I'll eat anything.
Yeah. I'm sad lately that I thought I could eat more than I can now.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's with age or something, but I'm like,
I get sick. I have a hard time eating. I used to eat way more.
Yeah, I used to be able to
pushing ourselves harder.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
I mean, I carried like a bunch of pizza.
I carried like 5 people's amount of Tailwind. I drank 2 bags.
We should have traded.
Yeah, right.
Because I needed more Tailwind and less pizza.
God, I gave all my food. Did I tell you that I gave all my food when I decided to take my Lake Mary Road back to Flagstaff? On Thursday afternoon. This guy Tripp caught me.
Tripp Alexander.
Yeah. And he caught me, and I was having my ugly cry on the side of the road because I had just told Peter what my plan was. I talked to my mom, and it was just. My mom felt so bad, but it was just, there's just no way to justify keep going. So I was like wiping my face off, and this guy's coming at him. I'm like, oh my God, I was so embarrassed. And I'm just like trying to wipe my face off, and he comes up and I'm like, hey, you know, and he was like, oh, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. I'm just emotional because I have to do something I don't want to do and whatever. And so we're chatting, and he's like, I said, oh, you missed the store, huh? He's like, yeah, I thought they'd be open till 6, Mormon Lake. We were closed at 5.
Yeah.
And I was like, how are you for food? He's like, I don't really have any. I don't have a lot, you know, because we all depended on Mormon Lake. And he, you know, not depended, but depended to some extent on it.
Yeah, it was a strategic
He had plenty of water. He got water at Double Springs, but then, I didn't get to get more food. And so that was like my final confirmation. I gave him all my food.
Yeah.
I was like, I gave him everything I bought at the store. I was like, here's a Dunkin' Donuts coffee and like a honey buns and some yogurt pretzels and like a
Nice.
Kit Kat. And I was just like, and he was like, really?
That's awesome.
I'm like, yeah, man. Like, cause I like, if I needed any more confirmation, this is just it. Just take
Yeah.
it, you know? And
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway.
So Trip, you owe Meg one.
No, you don't. No, you don't. No.
He's still going. I think he's gonna finish. I'll probably see him finish. I'll probably see him finish this afternoon.
Oh, awesome. Tell
Yeah.
him I said hi.
All
I'm
right,
glad
yeah.
he finished. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm gonna head down there after this. After
Cool.
this wraps up, there's another group coming in.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah, so in a couple hours. Favorite post race food after the race.
Oh, post-race food? God, I mean, I'm from San Diego. Burritos, Mexican food. Like carne asada fries, like guacamole and salt and cheese. And
Do you do like diced onions on those?
it's like, 'cause there's some pico on it. It's usually
Okay.
like fries with, carne asada, cheese, guacamole, pico de gallo.
That
And
sounds
sour cream.
amazing.
Yeah, and you just eat it with a fork.
Yeah.
I usually dump salsa on top of it. That's like the thing.
I might have to go get that tonight.
I know, my mouth is watering.
Yeah.
I'm in Flagstaff. I should, no offense to Flagstaff Mexican
We
food,
should
but
we should go get that after this.
yes, when I get to San Diego, I'll see if Peter will grab some. The place by our house has really good stuff. It's like
Yeah.
around the corner. Yeah.
I'm a sucker for the chili relleno burrito.
Oh, me too.
When it's deep fried?
Nobody gets that.
Yeah.
That was my I was vegetarian for a long time. That was my favorite burrito.
It's disgusting when it's not deep fried.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like it's just like a slimy chili
Slimy
in there.
poblano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if they
Yeah.
deep fry it,
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
That was my favorite for the whole time I was vegetarian. I
Yeah.
love that burrito.
that and the shrimp fajita.
Yeah,
Those are the
they-
like go-to.
Gilberto's in Borrego Springs has a really good chili relleno burrito.
I missed that on Stagecoach.
Dang. Yeah,
I just
nighttime.
didn't take the time. I just
Oh.
didn't. I think they were open. It was middle of the day. I got distracted by this guy who was just like lingering around in the traffic circle.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, you remember him?
Yeah, he took pictures of a bunch of people.
He
and
was cool.
trying to give food and stuff like that.
But I
Mickey
I
and
got
fun.
all like, you know how when you're going, you get all
yeah, you get to
you're like, I got a plan.
yeah,
and
you
then
gotta call Gilberto's in.
Oh,
That's
really?
the move. Yeah, you call it in like 30 minutes ahead of time because they get really busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, spirit animal.
Oh, it's a cat for sure.
Cat.
Yeah, it's like the full lazy lounge or like the full on zoomies. That's it.
I saw you just kind of saved a cat.
Yeah.
Got a coyote
Oh my gosh.
attack.
We've
and-
had this porch cat for 2 years. Feral cat. He's missing an eye. He's a junkyard cat, all messed up. He's been shot with BBs and he has a broken
Whoa.
tail. And he's lived on our porch for 2 years in a little heated tent. He's like, all he does is hiss.
Mhm.
But we feed him whatever, you know. And he two coyotes pulled him off the porch about a month ago, and Peter heard it happen, and he thought it was just a cat fight. Peter's just not sleeping, heard it, ran outside his underwear, thinking he's just going to break up a cat fight. And it was two coyotes, and they had him pinned on the ground, and they were trying to pull him apart. And Peter
Whoa.
yelled and ran at them, and they split. And he ended up chasing the coyotes off with a bat because they were lingering. They were trying to come back for him because they knew they heard him. And the kitty went under the porch, and we just couldn't get him. He was under the house for 48 hours, and we finally, Peter got a Tyvek suit and mask and everything, and a big net, and we actually flushed him out from under the house, chased him down the street, and caught him in a bush, and brought him in because we figured we were just going to have him put down, and figured he was really suffering and needed to not suffer anymore.
Yeah.
And the vet was like, yeah, how much money you got? Like, we'll fix him. We were like, God, like, okay. And so, you know, and we're like, okay. And so
God.
fix the cat. I guess he was just kind of fine. Like, he's kind of okay.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, a Feral Cat Coalition, they reached out and offered to do, he needed dental work done very badly. They pulled almost all his teeth. He has his little front teeth.
Yeah,
and a
pulled his
couple molars.
canines and
They
stuff
pulled
though.
everything.
Yeah.
They were all broken in half and rotted and stuff. So, and he rips him out fighting the coyotes. He ripped out
Yeah.
nails in his teeth. It was sad. And so he's pretty much fully recovered. And I think because now his mouth doesn't hurt. And, you know, the coyotes, they broke his face too. I mean, he was messed up. But he's so good. And all he does is like purr and love. And
Aw.
like, he's so sweet. He rolls on his back and lets you pet his belly.
Yeah.
We think he has the wobbly cat syndrome thing. It's like a
don't know.
it's a brain developmental problem with the brain. It's not fully developed,
Oh.
and so they're a little wobbly. And,
Yeah.
but it makes him really docile, and so he's really easy to handle. And so yeah, now we have another cat.
Yeah. What does that make in total?
We just have two cats.
Okay.
My kitty Izzy, 16.
Yeah.
she's awesome. She goes camping. She's
Yeah?
the best. Yeah, she's been like all over the country. Yeah, and then we have a dog. We have a pit bull, Javi,
Okay.
and he's real sweet. So
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
little jungle zoo.
that cat owes you one too.
He does. Yeah.
What's your endurance superpower?
Oh man, I can. I think. I mean, I can suffer through a lot. I don't know. I know we all can, but I can suffer through a lot.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, like I know we're all like, it's like the demons, right? Like everybody's running from something. Like that's what they say about runners, right? Like everybody's running from something.
Right.
But like I don't know exactly what I'm running from, but like I can definitely compartmentalize all of that stuff really well during a race. And yeah, so I feel like even some things that maybe I'm not like as fast or fit for, like I can still accomplish a lot of those things.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have to train as much, I think, as a lot of people do.
Huh.
I don't know.
It's interesting. I've thought about that. Like, am I torturing myself on purpose?
Yeah.
You know, like, am I punishing myself? Like, if I went to therapy more, would I do less bikepacking?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I'm like self-punishing.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm self-punishing. My mom asked me that one time if I was doing that, and I was like, I don't think so. I actually really like it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there are parts of it I don't like, but obviously that's kind of part of everything that makes the highs higher.
Yes.
You know, but yeah, I feel like I feel like I can push through a lot more than maybe I'm trained for, but I still do know those limits of like not creating like an overuse injury or something like that. Like my body's pretty hardy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you go through periods of like appreciation afterwards
For like myself?
Yeah, just like emotional appreciation after you've done something that hard or pushed through something like that.
Emotional appreciation of like what the people around me, like my loved ones, or
yeah,
like
yeah. Sorry, I'm having a hard time framing what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like the reframing that it creates.
Yeah, how you come back into your life with a better perspective.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, do you go back and appreciate little things more?
I do, and I think it builds with like every like tour or event or just like big ride that you do. I think like each of them just consistently are like constantly just building you into like a better person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, big time.
It definitely tests you.
Yeah.
It humbles you.
It does. It humbles you. It gives you like a better perspective of like what you're capable of and like what other people are capable of. Like I'm so much more impressed with other people, you know, because I'm definitely the kind of person that can be like, oh my God, people are the worst. They're terrible. I hate them.
Yeah.
But then when I do these things, I'm like, wow, these people are amazing. Really, truly incredible people.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like not, you know, all you guys.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I feel like that's probably good for my soul to feel appreciation for other people more, because I can definitely get in a little bit of like an independent, like, you know, I do everything. I know how to do something better than somebody else does or whatever, you know? Yeah. Type A personality.
That's a really interesting dichotomy with bikepacking, because you have this super independent aspect to it, self-supported aspect, but then you have all this like really satisfying like community. I've met my tribe of people. There's this appreciation part of it, right? And I like got into that later on.
Yeah.
I was way more like, I'm doing ITTs only. I'm not signing up for stuff. And I think that was like more social anxiety.
Did you do team sports growing up?
Soccer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're comfortable with team sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, this is not really a team sport either.
Yeah, but being around all the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't really see the people around me as like my competitors or whatever. I don't know what other people feel, but like when I see all of the people, especially because like I'm not winning anything. Like, I mean, I have like done well at a couple of them.
Yeah.
But generally that's not my goal. My goal is always like, what can I do for myself?
Right. There's no ego there.
I don't have an ego against like beating somebody else. Like I'm always like, wow, that's really cool. Like I was the second woman to finish or whatever, but who cares? And yeah, I feel like when I see everybody like lined up, I see everybody as like, we're all like comrades, like, because we all have like similar goals, you know, and we have similar goals that the people that we're going to be passing through these towns or whatever, like, you know, we have, it's different. Like we're really focused on this other thing. And so it feels like a team.
Yeah.
To me.
It does.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, except for the top, you know, the tip of the spear.
Yeah.
The major egos that are
and even them, they're just like the star players.
Yeah. And
know?
like, I think some of those people have egos.
Absolutely.
Some are like Dana and Jesse, where they're just like,
whatever.
So humble.
I just crushed it.
Like Jesse was just like, he's just the best, you know?
Jesse's great.
And he just was, I couldn't even believe what I was seeing on track leaders when I checked. I couldn't even believe it. I was like, how is this even possible?
I was so delighted just to see that he was just like cruising off the front. I couldn't believe it because I checked just a few times. Each time he was a little further of like the couple people behind him. And yeah, it was amazing. I saw him. I was camped and I saw maybe like 4 or 5 riders go through there. And around mile like 328 or so, I think that was, because I had to tell. I was like 320.
Yeah.
And he came through so fast, and he stopped to like chat just for a second, and he came through climbing so fast that he like skid stopped in a circle just to stop, and he was climbing, and I was like, what in the world? And he was talking really, really fast. He was so excited. He was just like, this is a piece of cake. I got it. I'm like so close. Like I'm going. He knew it. Yeah, he knew it. Oh, he literally said the next of it is a piece of cake. And yeah, he took off so fast on the bike. I remember kind of watching like his suspension squish a little as he like stood up to sprint away to get up to speed. And then he was like, and I just absolutely hammering.
Yeah. You know, he makes his own tailwind.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. He like mixes his own mix.
Yeah, sounds about right.
He I don't know. He's like into customizing everything. Like, that whole bike is like a piece of art, you know?
Yeah.
But like he like was like, I'm not spending all the money on this, and then I can like customize it to.
Yeah, because I guess you said bike. I mean, people used to do that when like, what was it, Hammer Perpetuum came out, and then like my friends were making it. It was, you buy like maltodextrin powder and stuff like that. And you make like your own flavors and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think the tailwind's like sucrose or glucose or one of those two.
Yeah.
Whereas the other ones are maltodextrin based. There's like
the maltodextrin one gets nasty.
Like the difference between scratch and tailwind, they're just a different base sugar, and they work differently for different people's guts. Yeah. Some people have success with one or the other.
You turned me on to tailwind.
Yeah, I mean it saved my ass in that race that I got sick. So I've like been it's the most efficient way to process energy, calories. It doesn't work forever, but it like sure saves you in a pinch, you know? So okay, next question. Worst crash or fall?
Oh, I've crashed a lot.
I don't know if the
I mean, let's
tooth
just
out
say,
the lip.
That was not the worst. That was the worst crash in a bikepacking race.
Okay.
That was I let's just say my chin bar saved me on Porcupine Rim once.
On a full face helmet?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've definitely had that. That has saved my face on Porcupine Rim. I mean, I had the road crash where the guy clipped my front wheel and I got a really bad head injury. I woke up after being out for a while on the side of a highway with strangers standing over me.
Oh, that
was my worst concussion.
Yeah, like that's the one that's gonna
I've had
plague you forever.
Oh, do you know? I mean, I crashed. I've had so many. Like, because I think I like to push myself, you know, and I definitely used to underbike a lot, you know, before I could afford to have a nicer bike.
Yeah.
You know, now I have a nicer trail bike, and it's like, it's prevented me from serious crashes. Like, underbiking and pushing myself absolutely caused some of my crashes, you know, like pushing it too hard with what equipment I had. But I crashed like, I don't know what. Don't mind my really cute compression socks. But like I sliced my knee open doing a trail ride. And it wasn't even like that crazy of a crash, but my front wheel washed out. I was doing like kind of like a turn dip, and there's like cobbles kind of at the bottom. I slid out and my knee hit that and it popped up. And you know how like people split their chin open? And my knee did that, and it was like 3 inches down to the bone. What? Yeah, and they like, you
can see your kneecap in there?
You see all the way in.
Oh my God.
And it had a bunch of foxtails in it. So when I was at the ER, there was some guy that we were in the triage room next to each other, and I had been there longer because I was getting imaging done, but he didn't know that because he got put in the triage room before me. So they set me in there. The doc came in and he's like, "All right, who's next?" And he's like, "I am." And I'm like, wow, what a piece of shit. But I'm like, maybe he has something terrible with him. Yeah. I would never assume that my problem was worse than the person next to me. Never. That's just not my personality.
Yeah.
But I was like, wow, maybe he's dying inside. So I'm like, yeah, sure, he can go first. The doctor kind of looks at me, kind of like, okay. So she looks at him, you know, we're sitting side by side, and the guy's like, "I still have this redness in my eye." And the doctor was like, "You were here yesterday, weren't you?" And he was like, "Yeah, it didn't get better." And I was like, what a fucking piece of shit. And I'm like, kind of like, all right, you know, okay. And I'm tied up with my shirt because Peter and I tied my knee up when I crashed. And so at this point we have prevented any blood from coming out. We tied it up really well.
Yeah.
We both have like some first aid training and, you know, basic. And so Anyway, so the doctor's like, all right, so, what's up with you? I heard you cut your knee, and I was like, yeah, so I untie it. And the guy next to me looks like he's about to pass out on the ground because it's like I'm right next to him. Like we're like knee to knee. And the doctor's like, what's that? And I was like, I don't know. And so I kind of like pull it open and I was like, I think it's a foxtail. You want to pull it out? And he was like, sure.
Like this is a piece of a plant?
So I pulled
a foxtail?
Yeah, it's like, the grasses that have the sharp things, like they get embedded into like dogs' paws and over their nose and stuff. Yeah. So I had several of them just embedded in my knee. And so, because when I crashed, nobody had water, so I couldn't irrigate it. And we all just had like juice and stuff. So we were like, whatever, we'll just tie it. But next best thing, just close it.
Mm-hmm.
So I pull out this like, I don't know, 2-inch long foxtail out of my knee. And the guy next to me is just like, kind of like holds the chair, And I was like, oh, there's another one. And the doctor and I are like, oh man, we really got to get somebody to clean this up, And then I look over and he's trying to take a picture on his phone of my knee. And I was, I was like,
you want me to pose with you?
Hold my leg up.
Here, put the foxtail back in.
Yeah. So that was probably the most, that's actually probably the main contributor why I scratched at ACT. Because it was like 2 months after that and I shouldn't have gone. I was like, you get proud and motivated and you want to do it, and I shouldn't have gone. I wasn't my fitness wasn't great, and I was so worried about splitting it back open because like I just had the stitches out.
I had the same sort of thing with Arizona Trail Race. I had a rib injury that I was kind of ignoring. And I couldn't breathe while I was doing it. You can't
ignore anything out there, man. No, that trail will find all those things.
It did. Easily. Who inspires you?
Who inspires me? I mean, honestly, like one of the earlier inspirations for like all of the biking stuff in general, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Was Mike Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like huge inspiration.
Yeah.
Massive. I feel like he was so like humble and like kind and stuff. And he was also like, he organized things and just watching like what he was willing to go through and not be like, oh, poor me, I'm suffering so much and this is so painful. He's like, oh, like I chose to be here and I'm enjoying myself in this thing I've gone out to achieve or whatever. And I feel like I was really inspired by him.
He's the guy who he's now deceased, right? Who was like the Tour Divide kind of legend, held the record, still does maybe, perhaps.
Yeah.
So
and
then he got hit by a car in Australia. Right.
Doing an ultra.
Oh,
got hit and killed. Yeah, and it was honestly, that was also one of the biggest inspirations for me getting off the road.
Yeah.
So he was an inspiration in 2 different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Yep. R.I.P.
Mike Hall.
Yep.
What's your favorite podcast?
Yours.
Yeah. Easy answer. Ta-da.
Actually, there's a podcast that I started listening to that's pretty cool, and it's National Park After Dark.
Okay.
Have you heard of that?
No.
It's cool. It's these 2 women who are vet techs, and they basically explore like kind of like the dark and morbid sides of things that happen in national parks. So like some true crime, some like cryptids, some mysteries, and it's like, it's good. And then it's a great podcast. Somebody just showed it to me. So that's kind of like what I'm listening to right now.
Nice. Right on.
It's a good one.
What's the worst water source you've ever drank from?
It didn't have any consequences. I mean, I feel like the worst looking one was probably Muddy Creek during Utumix Epic. That's like somewhere in the Santa Rafael swell, and it's like full of, it's like that's where all the cows drink, and it's the only water for like a 2-day stretch, I think.
Wow.
And so it was just like, it looked like straight up chocolate milk. Yeah. Like I picked up my thing and I was like, this is just a filter full of chocolate milk.
Did you try and pre-filter it or?
I didn't, because the sediment didn't look that thick. I know it sounds funny for it being that color, but I think it was like a stain more of a color than and so I risked it and it was fine. I didn't have any problems with it, but it's like, as you walk down to the water, it's just all cow hooves and just like cow shit everywhere. And you're just like, great, I wonder what's going to happen. I filtered from some pretty nasty stagnant ponds too, but none of them stand out that much. That one I remember just being like, oh my God, I hope I have to filter probably like 8 liters or something there.
Oh my god.
So it's a lot, and also like, is it going to clog my filter or whatever? So that one's probably the one that stands out.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. And lastly, one piece of advice you'd give to a new endurance athlete.
to practice in ways that are fun so that you have a positive association with it. So instead of being like, I'm training, or not training enough the right way, and then the first time you're actually doing it is like during the race or whatever, because you're going to find out all of those painful parts and develop a negative association. I think it's like the only way you could be successful at it in so many ways, because I know there are people that hate it and they're still successful. But like if you develop a positive association with it, like for me, road touring and camping turned into mountain bike touring, and camping turned into bike pack racing, and so I had a really positive association with like being dirty out in the woods and spending long hours. Because it was like all of it stemmed from the things that I just love doing for recreation. Right. So then it makes it to where, like, before I called it this time around, and I was riding on some of that nice the loop trail, Flagstaff and stuff, and I'm like, man, like I'm so lucky that I get to be here and just ride my bike like this. Like, this is fucking cool. Yeah. I could be doing so many other things that I don't want to do, and this is like what I love doing. Yeah. Yeah, because it's easy for me, like if I'm hurting a lot, to be like, everything around me are all the things that I love. Yeah. So, yeah. Cool. Positive association. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, anything you want to promote? Your tattoo business?
I mean, our shop is called Outdoor Traditions, and we're run by mountain bikers. And yeah, we've been tattooing at mountain bike events. It's pretty awesome. Awesome. Yeah, we're like we're trying to like create kind of a tie some communities together. Yeah. Like we do fundraisers for the Mountain Bike Association and stuff, and so yeah, it sounds funny to promote it, but it's actually something I feel really good about it too. Yeah. So yeah,
it's amazing.
Outdoor Traditions tattoo.
Outdoor Traditions and Stagecoach.
Stagecoach. Yeah, Stagecoach is great.
We'll see what next year brings.
Tour it in November. Okay. That is, I would promote that. Tour Stagecoach in November. It's fantastic around Thanksgiving.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you do also have the sideshow.
We have the sideshow, and that's the week before the Grand Depart, and it goes the opposite direction, and it's a little more laid back. Definitely not considered a race in any sort of way, but like really awesome, fast, great people do it. And not fast, like who cares about speed? I mean, you know me, I don't give a shit about speed.
Yeah.
I'm impressed by fast people, but that doesn't mean a lot to me in the long run. And sideshow is really cool. So if you can't get in the Grand Depart, or you want to like dip your toes in the water, you can do that. You can take more liberties, like if you want to have a friend meet you and camp together or something, or make sure you stop at the Iron Door and have a beer or whatever.
Yeah, such a great idea.
Do the things. Don't just like go to the hot springs at Agua Caliente.
Right. Yeah. I feel like I missed a lot of that.
Yeah.
Trying to go fast. I had this opportunity, and I might have to steal that idea from you for next year's Pinions.
Yeah.
To do a side project that's a little more casual for people.
Put it the week before. I would say the week before, because I think the week after it's like the hype has kind of gone down. Mm-hmm. The week before, people are excited, and they pre-ride parts of the course so that they're like, oh, hey, by the way, so-and-so at the store says that their card machine's not working, so make sure you bring cash, and stuff like that. So then you find all these little like local tidbits that are important. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And you have 7 Instagrams, you said?
7 Instagrams. God, it's awful.
What's one you want to...
I mean, my personal one is Speed Meow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Speed Meow is that's my personal one. Or Stagecoach 400. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm on there.
All right, Meg. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you
for lingering. I honestly didn't think. I thought you were probably going to take off. I was going to text you and say, "Hey, I understand if you gotta run." I
thought about it, but it's like another one of those positive association things. It's like I took the time off to be here, and I don't have to go home right away. I'm still going home one day early. And I would way rather have like a positive association with my whole trip than be like, well, I scratched, so I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I know some people have to because they're already cutting it close with their time, but like, I had the ability to stay longer. And it's been nice to like catch up with people that I don't ever get to see.
Totally.
Yeah. It's so awesome to see everybody from all the different states, right? Yeah. Like they're all like, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so cool. Mm-hmm. So I'm so glad that we got to actually talk and spend time for a couple hours. And I appreciate you. Organizing the Stagecoach, and
appreciate you guys organizing this one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
my favorite event.
Thanks.
It is.
I got to throw it all to Dana.
Yeah.
He's the mastermind. He just folded me in, brought me in under his wing, and someday I'll,
at some point he's going to be like, I can see it.
And but he's not ready for that. And we actually, it's shakes out quite well.
Having two is nice.
Yeah.
That's like me and Angel at Outdoor Traditions.
It makes it a little more
So
sustainable
nice.
too.
It's absolutely more sustainable.
Yeah. And I have a
Yep.
completely different skill set than him.
Yeah.
He's really good at the communication piece of it, and I'm good at like the process piece of it, like
Yeah.
figuring out how to get the registration faster and like solving
Right.
all the like technical process challenges and
Mhm.
stuff. Like that's what I do for a living, so it's like
It's easier.
and we just kind of mesh up perfectly in that, so it's worked out really
yeah,
well.
it's
but-
rare when you find relationships like that. Like,
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
like,
So all right, well thanks Meg,
yeah, thanks Dylan.
and safe travels back.
Yeah, thank you.